Cushman, the legend in the plans. Please listen every day to the showcase. The opinions and knowledge that anyone can take. Showing you how it is done. Proving I am number one. What a legend becomes. This is now my time to show you that I am here. This podcast just to make it loud and clear. By the fans, for the fans. Not many whose head can understand everything pro wrestling. It can never be you. Listen to the podcast here for the people. The best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin. The opinion and the lesson. Yes.
Folks, welcome to Everything Pro Wrestling. Everything Pro Wrestling is a show by the fans. Wait for it. For the fans. I'm your host, Conrad Cushman. Joining me today is Brian Williams. And before we get started, I want to let you guys know we are going to be talking about SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 and SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. I'm going to hit you with the hard questions this time, Brian, so I hope you're ready for it. But first, let's start off with the intro.
So listen in, let the knowledge begin, the opinion and the lesson. Yes, everyday pro wrestling, they can never be you.
All right. Hopefully you guys like the new intro. Shout out to my man Montezzi. If you don't know, Montezzi does Sammy Guevara's theme. I've actually interviewed him on the podcast probably almost a year ago now, and he gave me a hot new track, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that little snippet of it. And if you listen to the audio version of the podcast, you get a little bit more. So if you want to check that out, let me know what you guys think of that track. Brian, it's been a while, brother. How are you?
Conrad, what's up, brother? How you doing, man? I'm chilling. Hey, I gotta say, you know what? When you did your intro just now, I couldn't hear it. So I guess I'm gonna have to download the podcast when this is done.
Oh yeah, it's fire. I think TZ lays some pretty nice ones down. Sammy Guevara's got one of my favorite themes in AEW too, so it just worked out perfectly. I interviewed him one time from the Swerve City podcast, so. And thank you. Prince Rockstar just said the intro is dope in the chat. I appreciate that, brother. Original Biggie, I see you in here as well. I know you're going to come with some good questions tonight. But we're talking to you, Brian. How's everything been your way so far, man?
More or less the same as it was last time we spoke. Still doing the social distancing and, self-isolation that I know a lot of us are doing. And honestly, I'm starting to lose my mind a little bit. So I'm glad that I have an opportunity to sit here and talk with you about some wrestling video games. This will be fun.
Yeah, this is really dope, man. A lot of people actually tuned in. I know last time the notifications weren't going out right, and they still might not be. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure that you guys do me one big favor. Hit the bell if you guys want to be notified when these videos go up, because that's the only way I could probably guarantee that it'll happen, and I can't even guarantee that with YouTube. But hopefully these videos are popping up for everybody. With that being said, though, let's talk about some SmackDown versus Raw, shall we?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. And you said you have some hard hitting questions for me.
Oh, bro,
bring it on, man. Bring it on,
bro. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad for 08, and that's what we're starting with. It's gonna be
I hope
bad.
I have answers for you. It has been a while, and I will say, like I said, I mean, I kind of put it out there already. My feelings on this game, but it had been years since I played SmackDown vs. Raw 08. This game came out in 2007, so I probably haven't touched it since like 2008 or 9.
And so there's a reason for that.
Oh yeah. So it brought back a lot of memories, some good but mostly painful. So this will be interesting.
Yeah, this is gonna definitely be one of those ones that I'm just like, the memories are like good and bad. Though, you know what? I was kind of like going back and looking through some of these, doing my research as well, and I was just like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was when it came down to this. So we'll get into some of this here. Brian, first thing I want to ask you about is something completely different that we really didn't touch on too much last time, but the soundtracks for these games. How were they done back then for THQ? Were you guys involved in the process with that, or was it just a WWE thing?
Well, no, it definitely was not a WWE thing, and I'm glad you're leading with this question because this was actually one of the questions that my man Roman Blair on Twitter wanted me to answer. And I mean, the short of it is basically that we have a guy, or we had a person at the time at THQ. I forget his exact name of his role and position in there, but he basically he just dealt with licensing for all the various, titles that we were putting out at THQ. And so when it came to curating the soundtrack, it was mostly that individual. I feel bad I forgot his name, but he was a cool cat. But it was him working in conjunction with, marketing, and then with Corey. So on the creative side of, when it came down to which songs got selected, I really, myself, the other designers really weren't much of a factor. It was like, Corey working with those other departments to kind of finalize the soundtracks each year. The one time that I did get involved was actually for 2009. And when I say involved, well, not really. I just kind of made a request to see if we could get Murs. Do you know Murs?
I do not know him personally.
Murs, yeah, he's a rapper that I'm a big fan of from LA, Mid City, and I knew he was a fan because he did a video with John Cena a couple years prior to this game being released. I think it came out during when SmackDown 06 or 07 was out, but yeah, Murs, he's a dope artist. He had John Cena on the track with him, rapping with him. And I kind of just reached out and said, hey, Murs is this rapper. He's a big fan of wrestling, and he has Cena in one of his videos. I think it was Hustler. That was the name of the song.
Absolutely, and, that's where I know him from. Is from the Cena video.
Yeah. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, so reached out, and the guy that they got in contact with his people, and we ended up getting him on the soundtrack for 09's, which was cool. And I got tickets to go see him perform in LA, which is dope as well. But that's really how the process worked. It was like me and the other designer, like I said, didn't really factor at all into the soundtrack. It was a Corey thing mostly from our side.
So you guys know who to blame.
But I have, see, it's funny though, because like I never thought too much of the soundtracks myself. I mean, and maybe just because I'm listening to it every day, as I'm doing my work, reviewing bills, and I'm constantly hearing these same tunes over and over. So I might just be skewed that way. But I've actually heard from some, a couple of different people, on in YouTube videos and stuff, who have kind of, go the other way to kind of, praise those soundtracks, like letting them, kind of exposing them to artists they wouldn't have listened to otherwise. So there's that,
Can
so I take it you weren't a fan?
No, I was actually for this one. See, you don't know. There's gonna be some mixture. The hard punches will come soon. But actually, the soundtracks I did like back then, and I have to say I felt the same way about. So I play a bunch of different video games besides wrestling. Wrestling's just the love of my life, though. But I played a bunch of different other games. I used to love the NBA 2K games too, because I would find artists I've never heard of before, and then I would go search for their music. I'm like, oh, these dudes are kind of dope. And some of these dudes wind up getting signed. 2K used to have the contest for the NBA games. I used to love that too. They would give you the beat, and like whoever can make the best basketball song, they would get their song featured in the game. And it was just wild, man. I missed those days for that. Like, it was just the simple things that they used to do. And I know this isn't about 2K or anything else like that, but I just loved discovering artists versus today. We use all the big name songs, and it's just like, oh, you're going to get, this is examples, like Nirvana, you're going to get Smells Like Teen Spirit. And then I'm like, all right, guys, you used it once. Now where do you go for the next one? Put some new people on. Put the independent kids on. It's cheaper, number one, and it's probably just the better route to go. I think you're just putting more people on, and it feels fresh. It feels like you came up with something new. That's just my opinion, though, compared to today.
I agree with you, man. I think it's easy to kind of go after the big fish and get the songs that are popular at the moment. But it's cooler to go and locate and find some cats, like you said, on the independents doing their thing. Because like you said, you can get it for cheaper, and you're just ahead of the curve. Like like you said, they do blow up. You can always say, hey, we were there first. We saw how talented this group, this band, whatever. So yeah, I think there's more pros to kind of going that route than just going and signing like your 50 Cents or your Jay-Z's or whatever. That's just my opinion.
No, 100% agree with that. And it's always nice to discover artists. I was a rapper, actually, during this time period, I would say. That was one of my main focuses, like, on Side Hustle. I think I just turned 21 around this time, or maybe I was 20. And I'm just thinking back about all this stuff, and I was like, man, I was really focused on producing an album. If you think I'm joking, I'm not. The CD cover is sitting back there behind me if anyone can see it. I don't play. I got bars, but they're old school bars, so nobody wants to hear them anymore. But yeah, I
don't know. I want to hear some. You guys, so you never put out an actual album or EP? Or
I put out a mixtape, we'll say, because some of the beats weren't necessarily mine, but I didn't charge anyone for them. So,
dude, I got to hear that. I want to hear that, man.
Oh yeah. It's one of those CDs that I know one day if I ever like get into like office, someone's gonna bring it up and I'm gonna just say that song title's not mine. I was a feature on the CD, and yes, I did say some bad words I shouldn't have said, but I was 20 and we all make mistakes. So play this part too when you hear it one day, all right, people? But yeah, I used to love rap music and everything else, and it was weird during this time too. I was a big Lupe Fiasco fan. Changed like my outlook on hip hop and everything else, and I didn't want to listen to the CD when someone first gave it to me.
Yeah, I never was a big fan of Lupe myself.
Oh, man. We'll have to have a beef after for that. But someone put me onto him, and it changed the way I rap. But let's keep this back on SVR 08 for the people in the chat talking about it here.
Yeah.
Brian, the roster, bro. We got to start with the roster.
Yeah.
No. There's no yeah. Hold on. I'm not done. What? Bro, I got numbers for this. How did we go from 67 people in 2007 to 53 in 2008? Now, debuting on this roster, we did get CM Punk. I thought CM Punk was really dope back then. He's probably one of my top 5 favorites of all time. Even back then, I liked him. So I was happy that we got Punk in the game. Jeff Hardy makes his big return. A lot of kids just bought this because Jeff Hardy was back. And you guys gave him a pretty dope design with the little t-shirt hanging out his back pocket. I thought that was really sweet. And we lost a lot of people, though, Brian. We know about Chris Benoit. I'm sure we will probably even get into that a little bit. Kurt Angle went missing. And Rob Van Dam's gone. Like, we lost a lot of good people, too. So I can't fully put that on you guys as well. But what happened, bro?
Yeah, I was going to say, and, you know, we got Marcus Corvan from ECW, the
Time
former.
out. If my brother is listening to this, I know that's your jam. It's going down. My brother used to love that song.
Man, I forgot that Marcus Corvan, like, you know, that Monty Brown was even in WWE when I was playing 08. I was like, oh shit, yeah, Marcus Corvan.
Buffalo Bills, baby. That's all we got. That's all we can talk about.
I don't know. It's like you said. I mean, when this game came out, or, you know, when it was in development, like a lot of cats. Well, maybe not a lot, but, you know, like you said, Kurt Angle, he left, RVD, you know, there were just a lot of departures. And, you know, in terms of just the overall numbers, like why we dipped so low, honestly, and I wish I had a better answer for you, but I really don't know. I was still a young fish at the time, and I had my head in my priority was wrapped in other things on the design side. So at this point, I wasn't really much a factor in the cultivating the roster for the game. I got more involved as we go a little bit more into the series. But at this one, and Corey, I love you, man, but I'm probably gonna pass this one to him. So if anybody, he might have a better answer for why the numbers were as low as they were. But yeah, I noticed that myself, especially after having spent time with 2007, which is still a fun game. That was a good one.
Now,
it was jarring to see just how, you know, small the roster had become.
It was real bare bones with it. So let me put it to you like this, Brian.
Yeah.
Chris Benoit. I know that this. I don't know if you want to talk about this. If you want to
talk about everything, man. Talk about everything.
All right. I'm gonna be honest with a lot of my audience and fan base. I usually steer away from talking about Chris Benoit because there's people who are Eddie Guerrero guys, Chris Benoit guys. I was always a Chris Benoit guy. Like, that was my guy in WCW when he was in the Horsemen with Pillman. Like, that was my boy. I remember him from like 1993 having matches with Too Cold Scorpio that like left my jaw on the floor as a little kid. And I was like, yo, that dude's really good. And he disappeared for a while, then he came back. Chris Benoit was always one of my favorites. The stuff that happened, a lot of people could say a lot of things, and I just watched that Dark Side of the Ring episode. I thought it was excellent. I wanted to review it, but I just told myself I don't think I can on the podcast. So maybe this will be the time where we talk about it a little bit, but you can say what you want. I don't know the circumstances behind it. I don't know the man's mental state, his mental well-being. I don't know what happened with his wife. I don't know what happened with his kid. But what was it like with Chris Benoit and the removal of him? Is it something that just happens like snap your fingers, it's over? Is it, oh man, what are we gonna do now? Like, this just messed up our game really bad. Like, how bad does that screw you guys up?
Yeah, this is another question that was asked. So again, this is cool that you're asking me this. It didn't trip us up in any significant way. I mean, obviously, it was time that could have been spent elsewhere on like bug fixes or things of that nature. But man, I remember exactly the moment when I found out because we had before during the release of this game we did a making of featurette where Corey got interviewed, I got interviewed, kind of showing people the behind the scenes of the development of SmackDown vs. Raw '08. And I had just finished recording my interview upstairs. This is at THQ in the offices. And as soon as I left the AV department to head back downstairs to my desk, I forget who was it. Was it my friend Dan? I think it was my coworker Dan. He
shout out to Dan. That's my boy.
Shout out to Dan Ryan. He told me, he was like, "Dude, you hear what happened?" I said, "No. I was in the lab recording for the making of." He was like, "Benoit's dead," and like, it was like a punch to the gut, because I'm like you, like I love Chris Benoit, or at least I did, like I was a really big fan of his work. He was one of those guys that when I kind of first got into wrestling, like what pulled me into wrestling were like the larger than life cats, The Rock, Stone Cold, all that kind of shit. Guys who can cut really dope promos. And then once a lot of those guys started to leave, my taste kind of changed and I started to appreciate the actual wrestling. And so I really got into Benoit just because of how serious he took, what he did in the ring. And so when I found out about his passing, and this is before all the news hit about what had actually happened, I just as a fan, it was devastating to me. But in terms of the game, once the facts of the case came out, and everyone, we learned that he was the one who had murdered his family. Obviously, I mean, the WWE asked us, but I mean, we didn't need anybody to tell us to do it. I mean, but they did. They requested that we remove any and all traces of him from the game. That includes anything associated with him. Of course, the character model, his entrance motion, his taunts, any moves that he made famous, the diving headbutt. I think we had to remove his submission, the crossface. So we basically had to do a scrub the entire game to kind of any mentions of him in commentary. Like it was kind of like all departments, all hands on deck. Just kind of go through, report any cases of where he is mentioned. Create a moveset. If any motions that are his, flag him. Let's get him removed. So that's pretty much what we had to do. Now, because he wasn't a factor in anything meaningful as far as like in the story modes and all that. I mean, we'll get to the story 24/7 mode, but that actually kind of saved us because had it been like a Road to WrestleMania, for example, the stuff that Justin Leeper did, that would have been a much costlier extraction, obviously, because he would have had lines. That would have been a whole chunk of the game removed, but that wasn't the case in this instance. So yeah, he basically just we scrubbed him from the game, and over time, the crossface came back, and of course the diving headbutt and all that. But yeah, that's how we dealt with that one.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That I figured you guys knew that it had to happen. I think we as fans knew that was going to happen too. Like it's got to happen at this point.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other way. Like you can't have a murder I mean, come on, man. That's just common sense. It can't be done.
Yeah, it's crazy though. Watching that special, it just tore me apart to just see how it affects like both families and everything that's wrong with it. I don't know, man. It's just it's one of those things that if I could go back in wrestling and change one thing, that might be like in my top 5 list, like easy. Like I would go back and just say that day never happened because I think things would just be so different now. But let's stick with the roster a little bit here. We had ECW featured in this one. It was kind of heavily promoted, like ECW's back in the game. And me, as a stupid fan back then, I thought...
there, look at that billing right underneath the logo.
Don't that game when I just see the cover of it. So when I see this, I started thinking, I'm like, oh, we're gonna get some sweet ECW legends, and we did. We got Sabu, we got Terry Funk. Those they were fine, but
Sandman.
Yeah, Sandman was in the game. Sandman actually had probably one of the dopest entrants.
Oh yeah,
I thought you were gonna give an example with that can there for a second. Don't scare the kids now. But
I'm not gonna spill my LaCroix.
Brian, was there ever a chance to have somebody in the game like a Shane Douglas or someone else from Dark Side of the Ring, since we were just talking about it, New Jack?
No. New Jack especially. Yeah, I don't think because look, honestly, when it comes to roster, I mean, it's this shouldn't come as any surprise. But I mean, if any wrestler out there is not on the good graces of WWE, I mean, it's going to be difficult for them to gain access into the game. And obviously, I don't think WWE wanted anything to do with New Jack or Shane Douglas. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it took so long for us to get Macho Man in the game. When I first got on the team, like he was the one guy when it came time to which legend we're gonna have in the game. I remember Corey telling me, he was like, we can't even pitch Macho Man to WWE. If they see his name on the list, it's like, no, send us another one without him on it. It's like, no, we don't even want to entertain the thought of having him in the game. So obviously, your people's relationships with the company definitely matter as far as who makes it in and who doesn't. So, and I think with this game, we were probably just limited in the number of ECW representation we could have in the game, because we wanted to do. Obviously, you wanted to have ECW wrestlers, superstars that were current and that were on the ECW programming, as well as some of those legends that most people that are closely linked with ECW as a brand. Which was Taz in this one? I don't think he was.
Taz was in still.
He was, yeah. So I think it was definitely a smaller group of wrestlers, but. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of did the best that we could given the situation.
Just so you know, Brian, as soon as you started talking about New Jack, I wrote plays NBK theme in the chat. I know you know what that is. So. New Jack was just a fool. Watching that special, like, blew my mind. So good. Oh yeah, dude, it's so wild. That stuff from way back in the day. So me and you can relate. Like, bro, what was wrong with this dude, man?
Yeah, no,
you can't do stuff like that. But you guys also cut back on legends, period. So I know you said no Macho Man, but what happened to some of the other legends that would often be in? And I'm not talking like Stone Cold Rock. What happened to the other guys that would usually be featured in there? Maybe like Iron Sheik or Sergeant Slaughter. Was it contract stuff, or did the WWE just not want legends in the game at that point?
No, I honestly, I can't put this on WWE at all, because they don't. Like, when it comes to like roster size and all that, like, they really don't care. I mean, they're just more concerned about who's in the game. They've never given us any kind of edict about the roster being too big, too small. They just want to know who's in and who they might have to cut a check to. So I'm gonna have to say, I mean, this was definitely on us. And like I said, I don't know for sure why the roster was as small as it was, because it is jarring. Especially coming off of 2007.
You guys were transitioning too. This is the other thing I think people have to remember. 2007 was on the 360 already, but this was the year where you guys transitioned into those new systems, where it was PS3, 360. I think this was on the Wii as well. This was on a bunch of different ports, and I think I saw you guys talking about it kind of on Twitter about all the ports and what happened with that. It was just like, dude, that's a lot of stuff, and it kind of changes the game.
Yeah, Corey even chimed in on that. And yeah, probably, he's like he said, I mean, we were given more SKUs to do, which I had even forgotten, because my focus has always just been on the main consoles, as it were. No disrespect towards the Wii, but like the PlayStation, the Xbox, like that was my primary focus. So I had even forgotten about the Wii version. And I don't know, we might have even done a PSP version of this one.
Yes, I think you did actually.
So, I mean, that could have easily had something to do with it right there. Just we didn't have the manpower or, the cost to kind of get enough character models created in the time that we had. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. That actually sounds the most plausible, especially considering the fact that as we get deeper and deeper into the series, we learn how to mitigate that workload by bringing in outside contractors and vendors to kind of help with the creation of our in-game models.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the videos I watched about this too. Some of the renders, even John Cena. John Cena looks great in game, but that like render of him where he pops up on the screen, it looked like you guys like erased like someone's face and then just plopped John Cena's face on it, and it was just weird because a lot of those renders look good back then. I was just like, why does Cena look like that? I was just like, that's a good point.
It was. Yeah, it was. I noticed that too, like, because some of the renders look good, but then, like you said, you see a character like John Cena, a render that should be one of the best looking ones in the game, and it doesn't. Your analogy of it looking like he had been erased is a good one, because it was very soft and almost like washed out. It was strange, but the quality of those renders, again, I think it goes back to because Yuke's was responsible for creating. One kind of share a portion of the models and their renders, and then the other part of the roster is then shipped out to one of the vendors in China, I believe it was, to do the other half. So anytime you would kind of see those discrepancies of like, well, why does this look so much better than that one? That's probably the case. You had these two different companies, creating these models and everything, and at this time, like I said, we were all trying to get acquainted with this new dynamic of developing these games, and we got better towards as we went along. But yeah, this definitely was a mishmash in terms of not just the renders, but the in-game character models themselves too. Some looked good, and some were like, yeah, what happened there?
Yeah,
especially the chicks. The women do not look good in this game.
Man, no comment, bro. No comment. Brian knows this stuff's coming. The sets. I guess this will be the first time I ask you about this. This will probably come up again later in the series. But the sets changed in January, a little bit after the game came out. I think it was 2 or 3 months after. They had new Raw sets, new SmackDown sets. I want to say this was the 08 Raw set, and then I think after this, I can't remember if this was SmackDown with like the X logo or if it was the one before that. But they changed this. It was the one before that.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, because that was like 2010 before they changed it again. But what happens with this, man? Do you guys not get a heads up at all? Is it like, no, we can't bring it up to them, they can't know about? Is it like super secretive on their end, and then you guys are just like, yo, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, so I can answer this question. I mean, it's about the sets, about any kind of cosmetic changes that WWE makes, whether it's like I actually felt for 2K when they were, because right in the middle of development, SmackDown, they debut on Fox, and all of a sudden, Raw and SmackDown have these brand new stage sets, and I know that I could just imagine the pain that those cats at 2K were going through, because it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, WWE, they don't give us a heads up, that's just not how they operate, because a lot of the stuff they do is. I'm not going to say that, they don't have some sort of long-term planning. Of course they do when it comes to these type of things. But no, we see these changes in real time with all the fans. And we do, and sometimes, if these changes occur early enough in development, we do our best to catch up and to change whatever is currently, being created. But you get to a certain point and you can't turn back. It's like we can't, if you're like halfway through development and WWE decides to change, their SmackDown set, their Raw set, there's not much we can do. We just have to keep going. And if there was DLC, an option is, well, let's get it ready for DLC. But at this point, we weren't even doing DLC. But no, the WWE they never gave us any heads up when it came to any sort of cosmetic changes they were doing. The only times that I can remember them giving us any sort of heads up about anything. It's not even really a heads up. It was just mostly just them kind of giving us an edict, a request in terms of the roster, and that was and it only pertained to the roster actually, and that was concerning the debut of the Great Khali and Lars Sullivan. Before Khali had even debuted on television, we got word from one of the guys in WWE that we dealt with, this guy named Mike. Who was cool as hell. I like Mike. He was great to work with. He gave us a heads up. He was like, look, we're going to be debuting this guy pretty soon, Great Khali. It's important that we get him on the roster. And we got a similar request with Lars Sullivan. We were told to include him in that DLC pack well before he actually made it on the television.
Interesting. Let me read some chat comments real quick. Rob says 08 was cool on the PSP at the time. Josh Robinson showing us some love, saying that this is cool to listen to. Josh, I appreciate it, man. I see you're still playing 2K19, 2K20, doing your watch-along series and going through
2K19?
Huh?
2K19?
For life, right? Michael Stell says WWE should do a storyline in the Performance Center next year for the video game. Listen, when I saw, spoiler alert if you didn't see WrestleMania, I'm going to give you like 2 seconds to pause this or walk away or plug your ears. When Kevin Owens jumped off the sign, I said that better be in the game. I already tweeted it to him, put it in the game. And the Last Man Standing match, they put in a bunch of stuff that should be in the game. It felt like one of those online matches that would never end, too, when I was watching that bad boy. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have some potential from some of the stuff that we got to see this weekend concerning that. Original Biggie corrected me. He said SVR 11, so that would have been 2010, the year had the SmackDown X stage set. So you were right on that, Brian. Prince Rockstar said Big Show should main event WrestleMania in 2021. Stop it. Listen, my boy got so sad last night, Brian, as soon as he heard that, well, I was like, this is up there with Tommy Dreamer now for when he gets disappointed when Big Show comes out as the surprise. Like, really? Rob said CM Punk was my resident whipping boy in 08. Laugh out loud. I used to beat the shit out of him with everybody. You're terrible. CM Punk was the man in 08. But let's continue on with this, Brian. Styles and ability. Who came up with this so I can get mad at them? Whose idea? Corey?
Well, you're speaking to the right man.
Oh.
Now, here's the thing. Because, we're going to definitely get into these fighting styles. So, the concept and the idea for the fighting styles was, it was Corey the Death who came up with that concept and that idea. And then I was one that was put in charge of designing it and all that kind of fun. So it was Corey's idea, and then I came up with the design. Now, that being said, look, I can tell. I know you weren't a fan of these fighting styles. A lot of people weren't. I wasn't either. I'll just be 100% honest. I was not a fan of this either. But I did at the time. I thought, and I still do. I did the best that I could, given the constraints that I was put under. And
I need to be in the room. I'm being Conrad Thompson now. All right, Bruce. How did this pitch it to me? What was the pitch to this? Like,
all right. So I mean, look, Corey pitched the idea of these fighting styles about making the wrestlers feel unique, right? So that they don't all play the same way, which is great. Like who's not going to get behind that? Because wrestlers don't all behave in the same fashion. So I was cool with the idea and the concept of that. The execution, for me, this was the first time that I actually, like in my career working on this game, that I got to the point of frustration where I actually seriously thought about quitting during the development of this game. And I love Corey to death. He is a friend. He's a brother. Like, he's family as far as I'm concerned. And throughout the course of my time working with him on the WWE games, there were times where he would make a decision that I didn't agree with. He's the boss. So sometimes the boss is going to do things that, us subordinates just don't agree, which is fine. It's like, oh, cool, carry on. Yeah, you're the boss. Okay, fine. You want this done? I'll do it. But this was the first time, as I was designing this feature, I remember being in a conference room. It was me and Dan. We were together brainstorming some ideas and some things for this feature. And I think Corey was in the room also, but he was kind of there, just kind of, listening, not really bringing too much in, just kind of taking in what we were, talking about. And Dan would come up with a cool idea. I come up with a cool idea. And this was the first year where I heard the dreaded word, the word that was the bane of every designer's existence at THQ, especially working on WWE, was the word cost. We don't have enough cost for that. We don't have the cost to do this. We don't have the cost to do that. And cost in terms of development, of course, yeah, it's money, but it's also more importantly, it's time and resources. And me and Corey got into our first and only kind of shouting match during the development of this game, because as someone who was put in charge of designing this thing, I was getting frustrated because, I was being told repeatedly about how this was a big feature for this year's game. It's one of the big back of the box features. We're going to use this to really sell and promote the game. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, go big or go home. But then at the same time, I'm being told, well, that's going to cost too much. We don't have a lot of costs for this. So you're thinking $2,000. And I was like, but you're telling me that it's a back of the box feature. Like, why are we trying to dumb this thing down? And so, yeah, me and Corey, we got into some really, one intense argument. And that was at the point where I was just like, man, fuck this. Like, I'm out. I'm done. Now, obviously, I stayed on, like I said, Corey's family to this day. But my biggest thing working on this feature was the fact that the things that me and Dan, because I wrote the design, Dan pitched in some ideas and everything, but the thing that was frustrating was that we were trying to come up with ways to make these guys unique and different. And we're routinely being told that, that's too, I don't even know if ambitious is the right word, but it's just going to require too much time and effort, whether that's because of mocap, programming cost, animation cost, all these things that we just couldn't do it. And so ultimately what I was told was that take existing features that have been in the game and basically divide them. So like the hammer throw, the strong Irish whip, like that's a part of the game that's been in for maybe 3 years prior to 2008. Another thing is when you run towards an opponent and you press A and you can kind of whip behind them real quick to be at their back. These were all little things that were in the game already. Removing the turnbuckle pad in the corner. So I was told basically to take these existing things that were in the game and just split them into these various groupings with their fighting styles. And I was like, well, okay, I guess. But I was like, can we add anything new? And obviously, I was able to do some new stuff, to add to pair with these fighting styles, like the ref shield.
That was great. I love that. That was actually one of the better things that I liked about it.
Yeah, I was really proud about how that one came out. So yeah, the ref shield, the hardcore resurrection. What were some of the other freaking things in there?
I wrote them all down if you would like me to go through them.
Oh, please. Yeah, please.
So we had the Rampage. I put Rampage, can't hit. So all these have little smart comments next to them. Can't hit the person. You had Technical, which was you reverse everything.
Yeah.
Showman, they would do diving, taunts would boost them up and things like that. The Brawler, like you said, they could throw the fisticuffs.
Ground and pound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like UFC style ground and pound too.
Yeah.
The High Flyer we had, they got the possum pens and the rolls, the Rey Mysterios and stuff. Submission, you know that obviously. Dirty, one of the favorite ones that everybody would use online if they had like a creative guy. And then Hardcore Resurrection. I don't understand why Sandman and those boys would make themselves bleed and then put their body health in the red, but whatever, bro. I was just like, they're crazy as shit, so just let it rock. Let it rock.
Yeah.
I feel you, though, on that argument thing, if I could jump in real quick, as far as Corey goes, because as someone who, I've been in the position of, like, being the supervisor, and I've always, like, told my people the truth, whatever the situation may be. I don't know if Corey couldn't talk about it at the time or whatever, and you do get yourselves into those positions where you're like, I can't say nothing about this right now, but I'm going to tell you, look, this ain't on me, I'll tell you when I can tell you, but just go along with what I'm saying for right now. I understand that, but at the same token, I don't like getting bullshitted either, where it's like, oh, yeah, it's cool if you do this. You're telling me one thing, but then you're telling me something else at the same time, and I'm like, dude, don't do that. That's bullshit. Do you hear yourself? Like, you want to say, do you hear what you're saying to me?
And the thing is, like, I don't even like, I'm not even trying to put, Corey under the bus. Because he was basically just giving me instruction based on what his bosses were telling him. You know, so it's not even that it was anybody's fault. It was just the situation that we were in. So I take, you know, I mean, I designed this feature, like all these things that we just mentioned. Outside of all the things that were already in the game, you know, the hardcore resurrection, the ref shield, the you know, rampage, technical immunity, like these were all things that I put together and designed. And this was, I've been doing this, or I worked on the franchise for like 15 years, 16 years, and never in my time had I written a design, even still, as long as this one. Like this design was like 40 pages, and to see how even like I wrote this thing, and to see how even I am not a fan of this, it really does stick in my craw. You know what I mean? It's like I wrote a short story, and like I said, there were things that I thought did come out cool. I thought the ref shield was fun. You know, the ground and pound stuff, that was cool. I thought that came out looking pretty dope.
I think so. Original Biggie comments on this. He says he enjoyed the fighting styles because, again, everyone is unique, height, weight, strength, etc. But I think parts of the execution didn't work out gameplay wise. I think fans felt ripped off from the fact of you put stuff in as a feature that we already had before, and now you're trying to pan it off as a feature. Do you know what I mean? It's like being a used car salesman. Now you're putting a new sticker on a car that I've already I'm like, yo, well, isn't that my car? Well, look, brother, you said you needed this, so this is what I'm giving you again. And I get it, but I think that's what kind of hurt the people a little bit. Me personally, I think fighting styles hurt the game because of, let's just say you pick up Bobby Lashley, right? Bobby Lashley can jump over the top rope. I want to be able to do whatever Bobby Lashley does. So those fighting styles put a restriction on that person, and I don't want restrictions in wrestling games. I think sometimes those make it bad. I knew this from NBA Live 06. So ever since like 06, if I see like, oh, there's styles in the game, I'm like, oh, nah, here we go. There's about to be some BS, and I don't like it. Even when Madden does it. Sometimes the fighting games it works out, but for the most part in the sports games, wrestling games, I don't think it works personally. I don't know if you feel different about it, if maybe you had a different crack at it, if you would feel the same way.
Oh no, dude! Like I said, I mean, there's a reason why this only lasted this one year. Is because, like, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the fact of the matter is that you can't easily, you know, put every wrestler in these neat little buckets. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Especially now. I mean, you know, back then it wasn't, you know, it was, especially the WWE. You know, the wrestling was a little bit more. I'm not gonna say basic, but it wasn't as hybrid as it is now. I mean, like you said, you know, but there were traces of it, because like the Undertaker, for example, you know, he's not a high flyer, but yet and still he still does that dive. You know, the dive, you know, out, you know, to the ringside. So that was the biggest miss with this feature, is that you're right, is that it painted everybody with too broad of strokes, and we lost the nuance. Whether it's, you know, those things that we just mentioned, or and for me, and again, hindsight being what it is, I wish I could go back and fix it. But what we did with the moveset restrictions also definitely hurt gameplay and hurt the game in a major way because of these fighting styles.
You must see my pad, bro, because that's the next thing I have written down. Our moves felt very repetitive because of the styles too. It restricted them too much.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure your notes probably look the same as mine, because I will tell you, and we've known each other long enough. I mean, you know me, like there's no bigger critic of me than me, and like every time a game comes out, you know, I'm playing it at work. When it releases, I'm playing the shit out of it at home, because I'm a fan and I love these games and I want these games to be good. And so I know when something is not good. And when I went home and spent some really good time, you know, going through this, and I saw all the holes, and I saw all the mistakes and the missteps that have been made. And I did my best to course correct. We all did, you know, but not just me, like everybody. We did our best to course correct for the next one. But yeah, it was it hit on some things, but I think it missed on more than the things that it did well, you know.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that with you. I saw Prince Rockstar said that SVR 2009 is my least favorite in the series. Prince Rockstar, I can't front, bro. I think that up until recently, I'm not going to say which one I don't like the most in the series. I think this was my least favorite game in the series. This one hurt my soul a little bit. I think I overhyped myself, though. It was a new system. I'm like, PS3 is going to be more powerful. They're going to be able to do this, and this. And then when I got it, I was like, wah, wah, wah. And I was just disappointed as soon as I put it in. I tried to play online. I couldn't beat anybody unless I picked John Cena. I didn't like John Cena. The online was laggy as hell. Even sometimes the gameplay felt laggy as hell on the regular part of the game on the PS3. So I was just like, ugh, this isn't working. The frame rates aren't as good as I thought they would be. And I was just a little bit disappointed with it. But we got some cool stuff out of this that I wrote down. The Extreme Rules matches, really dope. I thought that was a great concept to put that in. We lost the word hardcore, but I think it was a better way to brand WWE, because to me they were already going in the PG direction at this time anyway. So they went with the word Extreme Rules, perfect. Lighting the 2x4s on fire was dope. Same thing with the tables. I don't know who thought of that, but thank you whoever did that. That made for some great.
I get a win for that one.
All right. See, check one in the winner's box. Fighting in the crowd. I even like the interaction with like the water and stuff, where you could dump the water on the person to wake them up. Different stuff like that. It was just cool to have just the little things that were in there. Let's see what else.
Well, credit to so Corey Ledesma was the one who designed that match, and so like the weapon wheel that's still in the game to this day, I think.
Yeah, that was a great, because listen, you remember back in the day how it was. You knew each side of the ring where you're like, okay, that's the chair, that's the sledgehammer. I don't want to use that doo-doo sledgehammer because I'm not Triple H. And then you're like, okay, there's a chair over here and there's a table over here. And now we had the weapon wheel where it just made things better. Like you had variety and you didn't know what someone was about to pull out. Like, yep, ladder time.
Yeah, that was cool. And like I said, all the fire stuff. So he wrote that design and I kind of assisted him on it. The table spots, lighting that on fire, the barbed wire 2x4. I think you could light that one on fire too. It was fun. Like I will say, like mocap and all that stuff was a pretty fun time.
Shout out to Connor in the chat. He just said John Cena was OP in SVR. You damn right he was. That's why I would pick him. Maverick 037 says Undertaker couldn't use his own flying clothesline that was animated for him, yet Sabu had it, which made me heated.
I'm sorry, man. I know. Just
that's what we're here to talk about it for. Let's get to. Let me see.
But I feel bad though, because like I wasn't the one who had to spend $50 on it, and that's like I really do care about this stuff, and like every time and it's not just me. It's got to be anybody who makes a game. I mean, because you're putting your all into it, and when it doesn't get the reception that you're hoping for, it's things, and you feel responsible. I mean, I take full responsibility for the good things that I've added or contributed, and I will freely admit all the missteps that I've made, and this was one. But at the same time, like as much as I dislike this game, someone tweeted me the other day. I forget his name. I apologize, but he tweeted me. He might even been on the thread, but he was saying how much he loved 2008. That it was one of his favorites, and surprising for me. But hey, if he enjoyed it, so I'm glad somebody did. But
see, on the internet, I learned how to refrain from commenting sometimes. People need to see that. I'm in on the thread. I saw it. I was just like, I'm not going to respond to this. I'm going to save my thoughts for the show.
But it was nice for him to reach out.
Yeah, he likes it. That's good for him, though. Everybody's got different ideas for the games. Brian, let's quickly go over some of this other stuff. We kind of went over the GM mode last time. This is the last game that featured GM mode. This is like everyone's precious baby. Like if that's put back in, that will fix all. And we kind of brought it up. I hope you guys know or don't have amnesia. Back in those days, people did not want GM mode in. It was on the thread like, take this out and fix all this stuff. People forget this, though. Like, that was a big, 50-50 split in the community at the time. Like, we don't want GM mode. Some people do want GM mode. I think the people who want it have a louder voice now because they're like, all right, it's been years, bro. Can we get it back?
Yeah. And I think, the people, because you're right. Yeah, it was kind of a 50-50 split. But I think that the people who wanted it removed, they wanted it removed in the hope that it would get replaced with something better and maybe something a little bit more fulfilling than I guess they felt GM mode was. But unfortunately, we didn't. Like we removed it, but we never we didn't fill that void up until I guess the closest thing approximation would be in 2011 when with the universe. But I mean, it took a while to get there, So I think I can understand people's disappointment that we remove a feature of that magnitude, and the things that we tried to add in its place didn't come anywhere close to being as fulfilling or entertaining. So, that was a bad choice. Like I wish I could go back and we would have been better off just keeping that thing in there, at least until we had something better to replace it with. That's
right.
my take.
Yeah, it was a big omission for later on. I'm one of the people, I'm like, yeah, GMO was cool. I kind of wish we had something like it back now, but hopefully we'll see one day, That's up to you, 2K, now at this point, if you're listening.
They're not listening to me.
Road to Hall of Fame, you guys had in there. That was kind of a cool mode to get the Hall of Famers and unlock people. You just kind of played through matches. It was kind of the beginning of something we'll talk about in the next round when we go through everything. And the last thing was the cutscenes. Someone put a video up of all the cutscenes, and I did not realize this. So they had SVR07 cutscenes. They had an hour and 30-minute video, I think, of all the cutscenes. And when they did one for 08, they had like a 30-minute video. It might have been 27 minutes.
I saw that. I didn't see the video, but I saw the thumbnail for it on YouTube.
Yeah, so I looked at the time, and I was just like, damn. That is so true, though, that you would get very few cutscenes of playing in any of those extra modes. It would just always be lifting weights or the Divas locker room. I'm not supposed to be in here. Roast beef. And then you're just like, all right, I'm out. So, like, all right. I don't know, man.
So, do you want to get into 24/7 a little bit? I didn't design it, so I don't have
I hate with like a capital this is gamer wise, like I don't hate anything really, but I dislike the shit out of this mode. I remember it. I think I played it like 2 or 3 times. I never clicked that mode ever again during my time of owning that game.
You want to? I'll tell you the quick brief story behind this, because this was the worst season kind of campaign mode to ever be in this franchise. This thing was just a train wreck. So the designer for this was a very nice man. He was hired on a freelance basis. I forget his name, and I wouldn't say it even if I remembered him. He was a very nice guy, but he was also very good friends with the director of our group, who also was a very nice guy, my boy Keith. This was his buddy, and he hired him on to design this mode. Corey was the one who came up with the concept and the name, and he kind of met with this designer and kind of walked him through, okay, so this is kind of what we're envisioning, and then Corey passed it off to the freelance designer. And this guy did not know what the hell he was doing. He was not a wrestling fan, which I think it doesn't take long to play that mode to figure that out. And it was just an out and out disaster how that thing came out. I actually, like, when the game was in development, I kind of had I was like, I had my nose in my area of the game, focusing on that, trying to get that up and running. And it wasn't until maybe a month and a half, 2 months before, the game's released, that I finally had, like, my schedule, my workload had reduced, that I actually got a chance to get in. I installed the build, and I was like, oh, let me check out the 24/7. Because up until then, I kept hearing stuff from Corey, because Corey wasn't a fan of how it was going. And so I said, let me take a look at this. And within 15 minutes, I was like, what the hell? What? Why?
Boo boo.
I'm feuding with this guy, but then the next week we're giving dap in the hallway. It was like, none of this is really making sense to me. And then I was like, well, what is going on? Like, what's the point of this whole thing? It was a mess. It really was, and it just goes to show, one, you gotta, hire the right person for the job. Hiring someone to take care of a season mode / single player experience for anything, let alone a wrestling game, without any prior knowledge of wrestling. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster, and that's what happened in this one. And it was bad, man. It was not good. No one was happy about it. The freelance designer, he didn't even work in our office. He basically just kind of did all the stuff from home. I'm not sure if he lived in a different state or just kind of far from Agura where we were, but he would make occasional appearances into the office for quick meetings with either Corey or Corey's boss and everybody's boss, Keith, to kind of get everything on track, and then he'd be off and he'd be doing his thing. I remember, Ukes being very frustrated working with him because he was. He didn't really seem to know what he wanted to do, and they were at their wits' end as well. And I think and you see it when you play that mode. I mean, it was a catastrophe, man. It really was.
I see it in the chat too.
Yeah, there's nothing else you can say. There's no defending that mode. There's just not.
Here, I'll give you your last positive thing before we move into the next game. Original Biggie said, I enjoyed the Extreme Rules and adding the weapon wheel was great. Happy that it finally returned in the 2K franchise, so he was happy to see it brought back eventually. Prince Rockstar said, I hate 24/7 mode. Original Biggie said 24/7 mode was a big disappointment. And Prince Rockstar goes off about this being repetitive over and over. So basically the same things that you said, Brian.
Yeah.
I can't be mad at it, guys. Like, it is what it is when it comes to this point in the game. But the last thing I'm going to say about this game is it didn't meet my expectations. And this game, when I look back at it, honestly, to me, it just kind of felt like a kick in the balls, we'll just say, to end it. And speaking of balls, guys, we have a new sponsor here for the podcast. It is Manscaped. Now, if you guys are looking at the screen right now, we got the Lawnmower 3.0, designed for groin grooming. Now, this thing looks pretty tremendous. I'm going to bust this out for you guys out of the packaging here. Hasn't been used, I promise. But you got a little light on here. You can hear the buzzing going on. This is pretty dope for Manscaped. So you guys can get 20% off using the code EPWShow if you guys go to manscaped.com. All that's in the description box for you to keep it nice and easy. They sent me some pretty cool things if you guys want to see. This is what the travel leather carrying bag looks like. This is some pretty good stuff right here. And they also sent me the ball toner. Really nice little spray on here. As you can see, still nicely wrapped. And we also have the crop preserver for anti-chafing. This is ball deodorant. You put deodorant under your arms. It's got to go on your stuff too, right? You got to take care of that stuff. All right? That's all I got for you guys, man. Check out Manscaped. I think it is well worth it. I appreciate them being a sponsor on the podcast for right now. So like I said, 20% off, manscaped.com. Put in the promo code EPWShow. Even if you don't need it, get it as a gift for somebody. They'll enjoy it. Male, females can use it too. We don't judge here. So give someone a nice gift for themselves and have them trim their family jewels with the right tools. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot one more thing I want to add to that. Not only will I thank you if you buy one, but your balls will thank you too, guys. So make sure you guys get yourself one of these trimmers here.
Are you looking for the newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
Everything Pro Wrestling, it's your boys, from the Everything College Basketball Podcast and Facebook group. I'm Josh Burton, letting you all know that if you like the college game, that there's only one spot to come find all you need to know.
Yep, Josh, Peyton, and myself, Tyler. We are the three voices of ECB podcast and Facebook group. Peyton, tell them where they can find us and listen to us at.
Well, Tyler, you can find us on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all other podcast hosting sites. Also, go join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups like Everything College Basketball.
So if you want everything you need to know about the collegiate game or have a passion for it, there's only one spot that you need to check out on a weekly basis or a daily basis with the Facebook group. That's Everything College Basketball. Now let's get back to Conrad informing you on everything pro wrestling and the workings around it.
Brother.
Let's talk about some SBR 09 though, Brian.
But hey, before we move on, can I just mention two other things before we move on?
Oh, he's trying to save himself, people. This will be
good.
No.
I'm not. Just a little factoid. So 2008 was the first year that we added the free run functionality, which sounded like a good idea at the time. I'm not sure if that was the right way to go. But what are your thoughts on that? Being able to freely run around versus like running in straight lines.
Okay, Brian, I don't know if you ever saw like any of my old videos. I'll give you that YouTube name later. But I had an issue with this. I never liked people being able to run that way. And we're going to get into part of the reason why in 09. But I just never thought that it was fair for a person to run in circles to do that. And it led to a lot of other problems later on, which I will explain probably while talking about this. I fear that this is probably going to go another hour, but whatever. It's fun. It's good fun for all this. So people shouldn't be, I don't know. You shouldn't be able to run in circles like that. Like when people would run in circles behind me, I would get annoyed. I'm like, bro, lock up or do something. Don't do this running around crap where you're bouncing this way. Oh, misdirection. Got him. Okay. It felt like a fighting game more than a sim. And I'm a sim guy more so, I feel. So.
Yeah. I agree. It's like at the time it seemed like a step in the right direction, but looking back on it, this was a poor decision, and honestly, if for no other reason than the fact that it's not representative of wrestling. You don't see wrestlers running around and zipping in circles when they compete. They're constantly running at angles toward their opponent. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I wish I could go back and take that one. I didn't like the free run either. If I ever get a chance to do another game, this will be something that I'll address.
My man.
The only other thing I wanted, what's that?
I said, my man, please do.
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to talk about with 08 was, and this was just a little fun little thing that I got to do. When the game came out, IGN had a contest where players were given a chance to play against Mr. Kennedy online. I'm not sure if you remember that IGN contest, but it was basically like players had to create their own creator wrestlers, and the best ones were chosen by us, and then they were given the ability to play one-on-one with Mr. Kennedy and talk to him on the headsets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I was the one chosen to basically manage and host the event when it happened. So I remember being told one day, our PR executive, Jamie, she came up to me. She was like, "Hey, we need you to go to Minneapolis to chill to go to Anderson's house and hook him up with the game and install the system and basically make sure that the contest runs without a hitch." And I was like, "What? You want me to go to freaking Minnesota to Mr. Kennedy's house? Is he cool with that?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, it's all set." So I flew in one day. Got into Minnesota at like, I don't know, 3 or 4, got driven to his house. He had just moved in. His fiance and his future mother-in-law were there unpacking stuff, and super, everybody was so freaking nice and accommodating. And I just remember thinking to myself, what the hell? What is my life? This is crazy. And he took me upstairs to his man cave or whatever. I hooked up the Xbox and made sure that everything went down without a hitch. And while he's playing, he's having his fiance was like giving us beers, and he was like, "You hungry? You got to be hungry." I'm like, well, I mean a little, but I don't want to put you guys out or anything. He's like, no. He's like, "Babe, Hey, Bag, put some pizzas in the oven. He's like, you good with like all everything on the pizza? I'm like, oh yeah, Supreme works fine. Yeah, Bag, put that Supreme pizza in the oven. Yeah. And he's like, how are you on beers? You good on beers? I'm like, well, hey, bring us some beers. And
Mic check.
It was just a wild scene, man. But it was one of the coolest things that I got to do, and I spent about 3 hours with him, and that was it. We finished up, wrapped everything up, and I can't say anything but nice things about Anderson. It's because I don't know if I'd be willing to do that. Let some stranger come into my house and chill with me for 3 hours as we do this thing, but. He was cool. I've been a fan of his ever since. Good guy.
Yeah, Mr.
So that was the one good memory I have of making this game.
Mr. Kennedy's a cool dude. We actually share a mutual friend, Dave Hero. So shout out to Dave Hero if he's happens to listen to this. He's on Pro Wrestling Report. But and they're all out in Milwaukee and everything else. And yeah, Mr. Kennedy seems like a really cool dude, man. That's a dope experience though. That's something different.
Yeah, and he actually came. He visited us a couple months later at the THQ office because WWE was in town. I guess they were doing a show at the Staples Center, and Kennedy, he knows Justin because you know Justin Leeper, who joined. This is a nice transition to 2009.
It is.
So Justin joined the team at the start of SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, and prior to joining the team, Justin, who is again like a brother to me, he's family. I love that guy to death. But prior to working with us, he was a reporter for Game Informer. And in fact, the first time I met Justin was at E3 during the promotion of SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. But before that, he was a wrestler. And Austin Aries is one of his best friends. I met, he introduced me to Aries at WrestleMania 23 in Detroit. So he knows a lot of people, and he knows Mr. Anderson. So they were in town. He called up Justin. He was like, "Hey, I'm in the area. Is it cool if I swing by the office?" Anderson, that is. And Justin was like, "Yeah, sure." So he came through one day and took pictures with a lot of us, and then Justin, Dan, myself, and Anderson, we went to Applebee's for lunch, and he was just telling us stories of his time in WWE and being backstage. And at the time, this was like a couple days after that. Remember that fight with what was it? Booker T knocked out Batista.
Yes.
Over so he was telling us that story because he was there, and the way he told that story was fucking awesome. He's a lot of fun. Love Anderson.
I might have to ask you about that afterwards. That's one of my favorite stories. You two go in here, and when it's done, it's over. And then they said, my man Finley closed the door, and all you heard was the oh. And you just see Booker T walk over a body and walk out, and it was done. Yeah, man, that's dope.
Yeah, it was a cool story.
And you know what? I'm going to give Justin a shout out too. Justin Leeper has been doing these Road to WrestleManias, guys. If you want to go back, he tells some really cool stories about it. He talks about like his first time meeting CM Punk during his Road to WrestleMania, which is what you would kind of expect from that story. He talks about Austin Aries. He's another guy who has like a weird kind of reputation when you speak to him, but Austin Aries is going to speak freely in front of you no matter what. That just seems like the kind of dude he is. Like, no, I'm going to tell you what I think, and I don't care what you think. If you want him to be politically correct and everything else. So check out Justin Leeper's Road to WrestleMania. He's on, I think, SVR 10 right now. I think he just uploaded an episode about HBK, the whole JBL storyline. So make sure you guys check that out because I thought that was really dope, the work he's doing with that. But a lot of people don't like this game, but I have some fond memories of SmackDown vs. Raw 09, Brian. See?
Yeah, well, I'm glad, first of all, I'm glad you do, because while this isn't a favorite game of mine, I definitely don't hate it. And I was actually kind of surprised to see some people's reaction to this game. I didn't realize that it was as disliked as it was. But for me, coming up, working on SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, this was like a breath of fresh air. Like overall, I mean, just working on it was a better experience. Like I said, Justin joined the team. This is like, for me, work-wise, I was working with some of the best people I ever got a chance to work with. Dan, Ryan, Justin. We were all just, of course, Corey. It was just a good group of people to work with and to go into the office and see every day.
That's when I was getting used to knowing like a lot of that crew though. A lot of those dudes were just super cool. Like Dan emailed me a couple times just because I sent ideas. I was just like, dude, this would be so cool. Even if I like never get hired or whatever, I don't care. But can you like get these in? He was like, yeah, I'll take a look at these, man. Blah blah blah. And he just made me feel good at least. So that's why I'm always like, yeah, Dan, that's my boy, man. That's my man right there. At least he always emailed me back, said something. You on the message boards for Gaming Ring and stuff, you would pop up on there, or you would do interviews and stuff wherever you were on a bunch of all those boards, and you would just respond back to people. I'm like, see, that's a cool dude. That's what we need more of in the gaming community. And I just thought that was so dope of a lot of you guys. And I always liked Marcus, Tank, even Corey.
Tank.
And I didn't know about Justin until recently, but Justin seems like a cool dude too. Like you guys seem like you had a really good core group of people back then.
Oh yeah, we absolutely did. We absolutely did. Some of the best people that I've worked with in my career, without a doubt. And like I said, I mean, they're not just coworkers. These are friends to this day. You know, Justin, he's living in Japan right now. And when I go to Japan for business, I always make it a point to try to hook up with him. It's been a while since I've seen him, actually. Maybe 2 years, but maybe last year I saw him. I forget. Just being in this isolation, man, I'm losing track of time and days. But Justin was a great addition to the team, a really good addition, especially coming off of the debacle that was 24/7. He came in and he helped right the ship. He cleaned up, yeah, in a major way.
Shout out to Derek Shelton in the chat. I saw you join me writing Manscaped in all caps for me. Thank you, sir. Make sure you guys check that out. 20% off in the description. James Thomas says, greetings. What's going on, James? Good to have you in here, my brother. If you guys have any questions about this game, like I said, list them, and I'll try and incorporate them in there and sneak them in, or I'll definitely just ask Brian straight up and give him your name. Brian, before my phone dies, I want to talk about DLC first to start. This was your first effort into the DLC, so who got to have some say in any of this? Because I'm looking at the DLC, part of it, very cool. Other part of it, what were y'all doing? So,
this DLC, unfortunately, I had forgotten. I knew we had DLC in this game, but I had actually forgotten the pack. So today I went and did a quick search to see what were we selling. I remember we had Evan Bourne. Mm-hmm. He's like the only thing I remembered.
Evan Bourne was put in, and he had a dope moveset. So I was like, oh, can't complain about that. Ted DiBiase Jr. was put in.
Charlie Haas.
Mm-hmm.
Super crazy. Vader, Doink.
Chris Jericho. That you gave him an alternate attire. I was big on those, like to update the guys. I was like, this is dope. This could be the future of wrestling games. The Santa stuff.
Dude, that was not me. In fact, like you asked, like who had a hand in this DLC. I didn't have any hand in this DLC at all. This being the first one. This was a Corey marketing.
Hit New Jack's theme. It's over. Like, come on, man. That I just didn't like the Santa outfits and stuff, but that was the time back then.
I didn't like it either. It was stupid.
It was just dumb as hell to have someone pay for it. But I'm one of those people, like, I have to have all the DLC if I'm going to have a game. That's how Fire Pro, like, got me. I'm just like, I have to have all this, because if I download something that doesn't have the DLC, I'm going to be mad, blah, blah, blah. MVP got an alternate attire. Edge did, too. I had PS3, though, so those were exclusives. Who else did we have? We had Vader, Doink, Earthquake, the Bushwhackers. The Bushwhackers are one of my, like, least favorite tag teams. Not because Sheep Herder stuff, dope. But the Bushwhackers were so lame as a kid to me. And if those dudes ever, like, licked me, I remember I was just like, dude, I'm going to tell my mom or something. Like, I don't want these dudes touching me. But the Bushwhackers, I mean, they put their work in. But I just, they're just one of those tag teams that I couldn't take serious.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And, like, looking at this DLC, because it does, like, this was not a good offering, especially when you're asking people for.
You know what though? It was your first, so we didn't have anything else to judge it off of though. So I kind of hold it fondly too. Like I was able to reform Cody and Ted DiBiase because of this. I got Evan Bourne. A lot of my friends, we're older, some of us, and we liked playing with like Doink and Earthquake and stuff too. That we're like, oh, this is kind of sweet that we got them. We haven't had Earthquake since what, like WrestleFest. So I thought that was cool that we had him in the game.
I'm pretty sure if we ever get, maybe if we ever do keep doing these, maybe get Corey on one of these, because I'm sure he can probably give more insight into why these guys were selected. Like I understand the Evan Bournes and the Ted DiBiase's and all that because they were like current stars, but the rest of this stuff, it just seems like it not very exciting for it to be our first. But I think my only input into this DLC was. I can be a pest a lot of times, and I kept bugging Corey. I'm like, dude, like, we should do a moves pack. I was like, fans, they would buy more moves if we sold it to them. And he was like, I don't know, I don't think so. And every year, I kept, being a pest to him. Like we got people, the moves that'll play. People will give a shit about that.
Bro, I would have bought moves instantly. Corey, you flush money down the toilet, bro. No, that's just opportunity cost, though.
Got there.
It was a risk back then to do something like that too. But dude, a lot of those fans who play the wrestling games are big fans of a lot of the Japanese like wrestlers' moves. I want every move that I can get from every wrestler. If you put the motions and taunts together for me, which is something we'll get into with the Creation Suite too, like that makes it even better, dude. Like if you put together, I know you. Listen, bro. I have a feeling you put together these. I don't want no one to get sued or anything, but you would see little cheeky names like Rainmaker moveset or something. You're like, Rainmaker, you're like, oh, Okada. You would just see the moves, you're like, who put this together? Like, who's the man behind the movesets? Or it would be Charlie Haas, or you would see Hollywood moveset and it's Hogan. You would come up with little names that you couldn't really tell unless if you watch wrestling, you know who it is. So I always appreciated the little things with that stuff.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, a lot of that was me.
I'm leaving it where it is, bro, because I always felt like that could be something they could get in trouble for, but it's probably enough that you could be like, what wrestlers are playing these games? They'd be like, that's my likeness.
Yeah, I put like in the later 2K games that I did, like I added the Young Bucks moveset, bucking trends. I think I added Adam Cole's moveset, Panama Playboy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I tried to get kind of cute with all that because it's like, hey, if we're gonna have these presets, might as well, base them off of, somebody,
And it made it easier to find. Like I hate when they would be like 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, I think Viscera's 27. Then you end up clicking and you're like, damn it, that's Charlie Haas. I didn't want that, and then you got to keep going back in.
I hated that too. I had it just as a fan. It's like I don't have time to be sitting through reviewing all these damn things. Like if the name could at least give me a hint as to who it might be, that'll go a long way.
When you guys do that stuff, can you think of adults, for whatever game you work on, just think of adults who work instead. Don't think about these kids. I know the kids play the games more than us, but think about the adult who works. I'm like, listen, bro, like when I play NBA 2K in the park or whatever, I don't got time to sit on a spot with my two partners waiting for a 3v3 game. I'm like, bro, look, I got an hour to play this game. I need some quick repetition. So I hate just sitting there waiting in like their own open world. So just food for thought. Original Biggie has the first thing we're going to talk about up already. He said, I do like the new tag team moves and transitions in the game. Instead of automatic tag moves, having you position yourself into the tag move in this game. This is some really, really good stuff here. I love the commercial for this number one. Whoever did this commercial, super dope. I mean, once again, it was bro, is this how the game's really going to look? But I had learned my lesson from previous iterations at this point already. But I love that it was the Hardy Boys and DX. DX had the DX attire at the time. It was really dope, man. And you see the Hardy Boys, their finisher was always kind of like a dual one, like into the Twist of Fate. Can I say that on here? Probably, whatever. Into the Swanton Bomb. And then DX had the super kick into the pedigree. It all just worked for this game with the hot tags. I wish we had more than one like animation for hot tags, but it was cool just to finally have it in the game that tag teams like mattered a little bit. You were just like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. We finally needed this. I was hoping we got some more 80s tag teams in there, but Demolition, Inksay on the tag A can't be in the game. So yeah, but this was really good stuff. Were you a part of this? Like, is this part of the moveset stuff, the hot tags and everything, or is that a different department?
No, that was me. So like for this game, because like I said, I didn't play this for a long time, but like looking at it, I've got some notes and I got the instruction manual. Let me just look at the back of the box. So like I said, I was the mocap director. I did a lot of different things, but like in terms of the game, my focus was gameplay, kind of first and foremost, and then create modes, and it kind of branches out from there. So on this game, I was responsible for working on the tag team redesign, create a finisher. I designed the Inferno match. The debut of I did the highlight reel. I worked on that. I designed that.
Do you know how many YouTubers you got views back in the day because of this?
Because of what?
You got people paid because of that highlight reel. I wish my brother was in here. He would probably hate me right now, but I'm gonna bring it up. I forgot what the guy's name was. It was like SVR Noobs. I don't want to say the last part because I think I know what it is in his name. But his name was like SVR Noobs, and he would make the video packages with the video games instead. He did one for Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. If my wife came in here, she would tell you that she knows it word for word. My brother knows it word for word because we were all like, she was dating me at the time, so she would come over. My brother would like still be in the house half the time, and he was just like, dude, have you seen this enough? Like, you know this. I'm like, dude, this is so dope. You got to check this out again. And it was Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. So he was doing it off of last year's game, bro. But I loved it where he went through like WrestleMania 25, had them replay the match, the tombstone. Like, it was just perfect, dude. So shout out to them. And I know that video's still up too because I just watched it probably a couple months back.
No way. Send me the link. I got to check that out.
Okay. I will do that for you.
I'm glad. That makes me feel good. I'm glad people enjoyed that highlight. I actually got the idea for that playing. I was playing NBA 2K with one of my coworkers, Wes, who was working on UFC at the time. And during lunch, we'd periodically, we'd play games with each other. And he always whooped my ass. But I was just going through that game. I forget which 2K game it was, but they had like this editing suite where you could kind of take this footage and kind of create these things. And I was like, oh, this is pretty dope. I was like, I think this would be a good fit for us. And so I pitched it to Corey, and he was like, yeah, all right, put a design together and let's see. And so I did, and I thought it came out all right, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are telling me that was a fire match. I think somebody said they're going to choke me out in the chat with a Taz mission. I appreciate that, PR Nightmare. Thank you, Nelson. John L., what's going on, brother? Good to have you in here as well. Original Biggie responded back to him when he wrote Drink or Fight APA. He said, I'll be damned. And they said when you heard the music, you knew a beatdown was coming. And they said they loved the match that I was just talking about. But yeah, these were really great. Honestly, I'm going to add this in since you brought up UFC. I love those UFC games too. I love the THQ ones more than the EA ones. I don't know if I'm going to catch heat for saying that, but I prefer those.
Those were good games, man. Those were really good games.
I think they were just easier to like watch. Like, they were just easier to like get through. Like, it was just punching and stuff. Like, you were like, Superman punch, yeah, watch out, Chuck Liddell. Now the games are like map based. I'm like, dude, what am I pressing? Oh, you push up this way. My brother tries to explain to me. I'm like, bro, I'm tapping. I don't know what this is, bro. Like, keep it simple when it comes to submission systems. Rosters. We gotta talk about this again for this game.
Okay. All right. What you got?
No legends, bro. Come on, man. No Stone Cold. No Rock.
Why, though. You know why.
That's BS. Yeah, I know why, but this goes back to what we were talking about.
This wasn't my call. This was not my call, but you know the reason why.
Yeah, but you know how fans felt about this. Like, when we first got the game, I'm like, bro, you just ripped me off again. And these people were in the game last year. Like, I couldn't get like 5 at least. 5 something. You could have gave us the basic ones where it was like, okay, here's Stone Cold, here's The Rock, here's so and so, and here's so and so. You could have gave us Hogan, Rock, Andre, and Hogan, but we didn't even get that. They said none. Dry County. You ain't getting nothing. The reason why, folks, is because of another game we're gonna have to talk about, Legends of WrestleMania. So they wanted to sell the Legends of WrestleMania game. Do I have it? See, I don't want Brian to think I didn't pay for all these. This bad boy probably got some dust on it right here. But Legends of WrestleMania. Relive, rewrite. I absolutely love the concept of this game. Me and Marcus had a long conversation about this one time via, I think it was DMs, because I think it started off open, and he was like, let's talk privately about this. And I was just like, all right. So, great concept. horrible controls. If you went back and changed the controls to SVR 09's controls, bro, that game would have worked. It would have worked. We probably have 2 games today. I don't know who made the call to try and keep it super simplistic, and maybe they thought old cats would buy it. That's my logic. Like they were probably like, okay, maybe we'll get some 30, 40-year-olds who buy this game. Let's keep it simple for them. It just didn't work for me.
I didn't work on that game, the Legends game, but of course, you know, I mean, I know the guys who did, but I never. You know, my only involvement with that is I filled in one day to do mocap for it, which is where I met Byron. What's his name? Byron
Saxon?
Byron Saxon, yeah. He did Paul Bear motions for that game. Super nice guy. But that was like the only thing I did with the game. But yeah, and it's funny too because you know when I booted this game up the other day, again I hadn't played in a long time. And that when I going through the roster, that was the first thing that I thought of. I was like, "Whoa, where is everybody?" And then it took me a couple of minutes. I'm like, "Oh, Legends. That's right. No Legends in our game because the Legends are in this other game that we want you to buy, where you can then import the rosters." That was a big selling point of importing the roster from SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 into that Legends of WrestleMania game. Yeah.
Hard times, Daddy. Hard times. If you were a wrestling fan, they were getting
E for effort.
They were getting double the game money and that DLC I talked about earlier. They made sure that the payments were coming in, but it's a business. It's a hustle, man. So I completely understand it and I get it.
And again, these are decisions that it's like even outside of Corey's control. Like these kind of decisions, when it comes to the money. These are decisions made well above, us designers and even Corey, who was the creative manager and all that. Like, these are made by the upper brass. If they can sense the potential of getting more money off of something, like they're definitely going to step in and say, no, this is what we're doing. So that's it. Make it so.
100%, Brian. Now, did you have any involvement with Legends of WrestleMania? Like, do you know what was the nail in the coffin for this? Because it seemed like a good concept. Like, what happened to stop that? Because I love the fact that basically what I'm thinking is they would have been forced to get more Legends on. You would have been forced to get Macho Man, forced to get Demolition eventually, because you would need to expand that game. Or was this just going to be a one-time project and everybody knew it?
No, I mean, obviously, the hope was that it would be another, franchise that can run, concurrently with the mainline WWE video game SmackDown vs. Raw. The fact that we didn't do another one, just leads me to believe the sales just weren't there to support or to make a case for why, we would do another one. That at that time THQ. So here's how I break it down. So at THQ. And when I say THQ, like the upper management, they didn't really treat the W franchise as any sort of like crown jewel in their portfolio. It was just that wrestling game that came out every year that was mostly consistent and sold some copies, good enough to make money back.
Sorry, real quick insert. So what was their eye on the next game you're telling me, or was it just they wanted to stack the portfolio up?
No, I'm saying that THQ, they never wanted to really spend a lot of money budget-wise on these games. So if the game didn't meet expectation, like the Legends game, like they weren't going to try again. They're like, okay, well, that didn't work. Just go back to the main line, SmackDown versus Raw. And the biggest difference between THQ and 2K, and I've got my own kind of experiences with 2K, but the one thing I will say is that at least when I first got there, they were willing to put money into the project, more money into the project than the brass at THQ ever did or wanted to. So that is something that was the main differentiation between 2K and THQ. On the flip side, like I just felt that the working environment for me, and the people that I got to work with and that were designing on the game were great people. So it was like we were always in a situation where we were always kind of had our backs against the wall in terms of not having enough or the amount of cost or budget that we wanted but we all just say, hey, it is what it is, and let's just try to do the best that we can in this situation and circumstances, you know. So that's why there was never a sequel to that Legends. And I'm with you. I tried playing it, and I didn't hate Legends of WrestleMania, but I also had a problem with the controls. I didn't understand why they went the route that they did. And I know internally the whole thing was that they were trying to make it simpler to do, or like a simpler control scheme. But for me, simple. If I have to press 2 buttons to do one action, that's not simple to me. You know what I mean?
Right. That's kind of a skill to trade, I'll say. But I don't know. It's something that you kind of expect for wrestling games. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just me.
I suppose.
I hope I'm saying this right. I'm gonna just put the letters out there instead. It's MTO YouTube YT. Looks like is his name. He asked, was there ever talk of importing the Legends of WrestleMania roster onto SVR 09 versus the way we had it vice versa?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
No, it was always meant to be that one-way street.
All right. We'll move forward. There is one more video game that's going to get brought up other than the one at hand here that I'm going to bring up because this is something that gets talked about amongst my little community of friends.
Okay.
So we get fighting styles removed. I think you kind of explained in 08 why they were removed when we were talking about that. If any of you guys missed it, we did talk SVR 08, so you can rewind it back after to check it out. Brian gave some really good tidbits about all of that. But you guys kept the abilities in. What was your thought process behind that?
So what it was is that basically the fighting styles, although they were a swing and a miss, they were a nice segue and transition into the abilities, which became a mainstay of the game and still are. I mean, they're called skills now, but all these things basically spawned off of the fighting styles from 08. And it was just a way for us to basically alleviate all of those the missteps that we did in the previous game with all those roadblocks and restrictions to movesets and the things that the wrestlers could do, like the Undertaker, for example. Now we made the ability of the outside dive just basically a switch. You know what I mean? You tag it on to the Undertaker. He's not going to be doing springboards, but you know what? He can do his trademark dive to the outside, and it doesn't affect or get in the way of anything else that he does. So it was almost like you get the best of both worlds with the abilities. And I thought they came out good. I think we improved on them even more in 2010. But for this being like the first go around, I thought it was a step in the right direction with the abilities, and that was something that I worked on as well. That fell within my purview.
I respect it because I think it did put those movesets more wholesome a little bit after this. And I think you know what happens in the next one, but it made the movesets a little more wholesome. But,
oh man, people are gonna hate me for that one.
Oh yeah, that's probably what we're kicking off the next one with.
I'm actually having second thoughts about maybe doing that one.
The first game with signature moves. I respect this. I don't know whose idea this was too, but to finally have Shawn Michaels' elbow drop as the signature move instead of you have to go do it yourself and go to the top rope, and then you got to remember, was it down square, up square, or right square, left? You had to remember all that stuff back in the day. And there were nerds like me. I used to plan it out, bro. If I was whooping on you real bad, I would do I'm going to do the Shawn Michaels stomp to the face. I'm going to the top. I'm taunting. Elbow drop. Now I'm going to finish you off with the super kick, and you're just going to have to eat this, bro. SmackDown camera pan around. Look at it. Look at it. But yeah, that's exactly what would happen with these. But was that your idea too?
That was. I'm glad you brought that up because I had forgotten. I thought the signatures came in 2010, and I was like, oh yeah, 2009. I think so. Yeah, it was my idea to basically make these moves, these signature moves, are basically the sub finishers, like the 5-knuckle shuffle and all that. Kind of take them out of the general moveset and make them basically like the special move before the finisher. And I just thought it made more sense that way. In this game, it was a little backwards, though, where you had to get the momentum full and then store the signature, which is backwards. And we made changes to it later on where, you get the momentum to a certain point, like 75%, and then you get your signature. You do that, and then you get your finisher. So I think, we kind of improved upon it. But yeah, the idea of taking those signature moves and separating them from the base moveset was something I came up with.
I think it helped match flow too, as far as once you get to the 75% point, okay, now I'm trying to hit my signature, but if it gets reversed, it makes the match a little more like epic, like, oh, okay, he reversed my signature. Dang, I gotta build it back up and try and get it again. Boom, 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 makes the match last longer, then you can hit the signature, then maybe you'll get the finisher. It just added to the flow of the matches, I think. I think it had a bigger effect than you're putting on it, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, to me, I was just trying to make it.
I'm giving you more credit, bro. This is why I'm telling people, like, a lot of people say they don't like this game. I disagree. I think you guys did a lot of things right with this one. You righted the wrongs of 08, I'll say, for me.
We were all trying, man. We were all trying. For everybody who has to pay for this thing, as well as for us, you know, having to. We have to do better than that last one. We cannot have a repeat of 08. And then, like I said, this game is not an overwhelming favorite of mine, but I thought it was definitely positive movement forward, I feel.
Let's see here. Brian, you're getting a kudos for the signature moves from James Thomas in the chat. Left you a nice emoji there for that one. Original Biggie just said, I agree with the abilities. I think the problem is that we have other people in the community who are too lazy to go into their moveset and change them. He says, see my videos on Sim versus Arcade. I've seen them, Obi-Wan. And you bring up some excellent points about that, the argument of Sim versus Arcade when it comes down to wrestling games. That's another debate for another time. Maybe we'll have that on like the last one. We'll talk about the future of wrestling games, possibly. Brian, I'd love to see sliders in the game added for music, for AI, everything else. I thought that was a nice touch too, to bring that in to make things a little bit more difficult if you wanted to. Sliders were just something that was like being added into a lot of the games, so it was nice to see you guys were like up on the times with that at the moment.
You know, I see. Well, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I see a lot, not a lot, but I've come across, you know, whether Twitter comments or even some YouTube videos that I watched when they kind of revisit these older games, and they kind of lament the fact that, oh, I wish we had the sliders. But the sliders they've been in these games. They were in 08, they were in 07. Like they've been in the games probably, I want to say, since like SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. So this wasn't the first time that these sliders were in there.
Yeah, I think maybe this was the first time we could adjust them ourselves, though. I don't remember. There was something with this that it was the first time with sliders. I think it was that we could adjust them, go into the options, and play with them ourselves. Because before it was real limited, like music loudness and stuff like that. But this time it had like AI, and you could mess with a bunch of different things. I do like the inclusion of Inferno matches. I thought that was... We lost Buried Alive, though. I was pissed. Yeah. I was pissed. I'm like, we can't have both, can we? Beggars can't be choosers, though, right, Brian? I don't know what happened with that. Any addition to that? So how did you guys finally get the Inferno match that I've been hearing about since like WrestleMania 2000 that's going to pop up?
Yeah, you know, I designed this match. I'm not sure. I don't think I was the one that... I don't know if... Yeah, I'm not sure how exactly this came about. It must have... Whether Corey asked me to do it, or I'm not sure exactly who pitched for it. Maybe it was me. I really don't remember. But the fact that we added it this year, they must have, when I say they, WWE must have had an Inferno match either as we were in pre-production or somewhere close within the time frame this game being developed. That's really the only reason I can think of why it was added. But I'm glad it was. It was fun to work on.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it was gimmicky as fuck, but I mean, it's like the gimmickiest of all gimmick matches. So,
but people just want that stuff, though. You know what I mean? Even like the casket match and all that shit. It's all the same. It's a mini game basically, but that's what people wanted. Like, if you give it to me, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna take advantage of it for whatever thing. Sorry. As soon as I said casket match, I looked at the box behind you, that Taker one. I know we'll talk about that game eventually. Oh, yeah. That it just kind of scared me a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to have a boneyard match with the Undertaker. See what just happened to my boy AJ. But speaking of AJ Styles, man, I'm hitting the transitions today. Manscaped, people, buy it, use it. TNA game, bro. So a lot of my friends from the XGW community, which I'll bring up in a little bit later, we have this theory why this game got better. You had competition coming around the corner, and let me see here. This is not my copy of the game. I never purchased this game. Thank you, Donnie, though, for letting me keep this for like years. If you want it back, you know where to get it. The TNA game. I have it sitting up right now in my hand, Brian. The Impact Wrestling game here with Sting, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe on the cover. Listen, this game looked really dope. More dope in the screenshots for sure. But this game had potential, I thought, from what I saw from it. And, even back then, this is going to play like No Mercy. I'm sorry, I'm giving the front face to the camera a little bit here because every new game wants to say that nowadays. This was a solid game, though. I thought they had some good things in here, and I think they would have benefited from having another game or two, and I think they could have had something really nice on their hands.
I think so, too. I also have my copy of TNA. I would pull it out, but it's kind of far away. But I enjoyed that game, and in fact, we were talking about Legends of WrestleMania just a bit ago. The guy that was in charge of that game, as far as the gameplay of Legends of WrestleMania, he came from that studio that did the TNA game. What was it Midway or?
I think it was Acclaim that became Midway. I think it was like a buyout in the process of them making the game. So did that game motivate you guys though? Like, is there any truth to if there's competition, there's more motivation? Like in the wrestling game world, you guys were the most dominant team. No one was messing with you guys after a while because it was like, yo, THQ are them boys. When you want to see some wrestling, you want to talk to them. Was this any motivation? Like, yeah, we better wake up.
So I wasn't aware that TNA came out the same year that this one, that 2009 came out. I mean, I thought it was either this one or maybe 2010. So thank you for reminding me about that. And then secondly, I can't speak for anybody else, but yeah, it motivated the hell out of me. Absolutely. Like, I won't front. Like, I've got an ego just like anybody else. And, I knew that game was coming. Like, I'd seen screenshots, and I mean, it looked, like you said, it was a good looking game. And, I mean, just the fact that it was a new game that was unencumbered with kind of years of iteration and baggage, I was jealous of that fact. It'd be nice to be able to do something, from scratch. So I figured they were going to be coming, with the thunder, So yeah, it definitely motivated me. It absolutely did. Not that I need, motivation when I'm doing these games, but yeah, I didn't want us or the game to get shown up, by anybody else. So yeah, it was definitely something that was on my mind.
It was a boost, though, man. I'm not going to front. I see a lot of the things in the back of that box, and Original Biggie just said it was Midway before it was bought out, so thank you for that, Biggie. Okay. And I went to look on the back of the box and say, yes, that's true. And then some of the engines used on this were eventually picked up by you guys. The Havoc engine I saw in there. The Unreal one was just, I'm just telling you what was on there. Now, I know that you guys used the Havoc engine later on, but the Unreal one was used. It's just really cool to look back at some of the things that were happening back then. Let me go real quick back into the chat because we're getting crazy comments in here. Prince Rockstar, looks like he's changed his tune. He said 09 was good a little bit. A lot of people didn't like WWE 12. You know what? I still take 12 over 08, but 12 had its issues too that I'll bring up to Brian when it's time.
Oh,
Brian's gonna hear some sad stories. That's when I'm in my sad phase of you're addicted to wrestling games when. Let's see here. James Thomas said that he liked SVR 9 and 11. Let's see here. PR Nightmare said, I don't really remember the game like that because I had them all. Don't remember which one was which. Obi-Wan said, thank you, Brian. 06 was the first which you can go and change the AI for better simulation or arcade style. So there were some sliders before, but this was the first one where I think it expanded upon it is what I'm saying, Obi-Wan. PR Nightmare said, I always loved the cause, but now I just don't care for them. They took away the imagination and made it look too realistic. Woo, harsh. I've never heard anybody say that.
Is that for 2009, or are we talking about the most current?
I think he's just talking about wrestling games back then. I think he said he always loved the COD modes, but then they just started getting more and more realistic as the years went on. I'll never forgive them for taking the option to import MP3 files for entrance music. Yes, that was brought up on this too. I love that, dude. That's more of a Sony, Xbox, Microsoft thing to complain about, though, too. I don't understand it. And listen, I got Fire Pro. I've got all the songs set up that I want, and I cannot None of these, look at, I have mad USB sitting right here on my computer. None of these work to put the songs on. And I'm so like frustrated with it. And I'm like, ugh, why can't we just have the right songs in the game? Or why can't we just put them on the way we want to? Ugh, so annoying.
That was out of our hands, the whole importing of the music and all that.
That's based on Sony. But that would be really dope. Now, how come other people always say, why can't we do it like MLB The Show and all these other games that have it, or Fire Pro, since they have it? Is there an issue with that with you guys, or?
You know, honestly, I'm not sure, because I actually was thinking that same thing when I found out that you could do it with Fire Pro, and I wasn't even aware that you could do it with MLB The Show, like the latest one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could set up all the songs in the stadium, everything else.
Oh yeah, see.
If you guys can't tell, big sports gamer. But I play like Call of Duty and stuff too, so don't worry. My video game time is very limited these days, though.
Yeah, I know that's an important feature with the fans being able to do that. So I mean, maybe they've relaxed their stance. I'm not sure. I just know that at the time, because we did have it at one point, and then I just remember them being the first parties, you know, Microsoft and Sony, telling us that we had to remove that functionality for whatever reason. I just figured it must have been something to do with their standard practices or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or future lawsuits because they put it in. Well, don't sue us. They put it in the game, and we just, you know what I mean? They're going to come after the big dog.
Yeah.
For it. Question for you again, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this: do you want a crap feature that was in, or do you want one that was removed? I'm gonna let you pick first.
Wait, say that again?
Do you want a feature that was removed from the game, or do you want the crap feature that was put into the game?
Let's do the crap feature that was put into the game.
Camera view, bro, on the outside. I'm
looking at it right now. The ringside camera. This is in my notes. The ringside camera was ... problematic.
Oh, I was gonna hit you with the Joe Buttons trash. It was trash.
or that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't like, you be on a ladder and half your body's up there, you can't see it. I'm like, what the hell is this? Who made this?
Yeah, that was really bad. I forgotten about it when I was playing yesterday. I stepped out of the ring and I was like, oh, I forgot we did this. I was like, oh,
was it to try to make it more realistic with the product at the time? I think I saw what you were going for. Just it didn't work for video games.
Just trying to bring the camera in and keep it on the characters a little more when you're outside the ring versus the pullback. You know, when characters get outside the ring, we just wanted to kind of make it a little bit more, a more intimate experience, I guess, by having the characters, closer up to you rather than having to be, pulled back. But yeah, it did not look good at all. That was bad. Honestly, I'm surprised that we shipped with the camera like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably one of those things that you're like, people will get over it. Because sometimes it works very rarely, though. Like, it looks good, but you know what I mean? Once in a while, you get it.
There's moments. I mean, I was just playing just a one-on-one match, but there's moments where you can't even see all of your character. I'm like, what's going on? I'm seeing like his shoulders on down. I'm like, where's his head? So
probably a quick yes or no question. Were the games still being QA tested at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Shame on you guys. Shame whoever tested this. Where am I here? Oh, next one. So this is going to be the other one that I offered you up before. Fighting in the crowd, bro. So it was in last year. What happened? We didn't need it anymore? It just disappeared?
Yeah. It again, it boils down to cost and like the bang for the buck. It was because at this point, I think, we had all kind of, when I say we, like Corey, myself, the rest of the designers, we all kind of felt that this was a good idea in theory. The execution was okay, but it never really was the feature that we wanted it to be, how we originally saw it in Vision, because it was just that very small enclosed space. Unlike what they have in the games now, which is what we were going for originally. So I think the decision was made to just basically say, look, none of us are very pleased with this. We don't really have the time to do it better this year, so why not maybe remove it and focus that energy and that time on other parts of the game. And Yeah.
You know why I don't like when you do this? It was some years before we saw that again. They forgot about this.
I know.
Yep.
But hey, I will say, like I said, in that first episode we did, it's better than it started. You know, it's a lot better than how it began. So
yeah, can't be mad at it. So sometimes you're gonna lose those features and all of this stuff too. You can't win every argument and keep like 50 million features in the game, because we'd have it all if we could.
I thought you were gonna bring up the that career mode.
Oh, we're not there yet. We're getting there. I'm gonna try. I'm trying to breeze through these for you a little bit. Glitching into the game. I don't know if you guys were aware of a lot of these glitches, but so to get into the crowd, you could do the user control, pick up, slam their back into the ring post, and then if you keep walking with them, you could walk into the crowd. This game had crazy glitches that I still remember to this day how we would do them. And I got another one for you.
Yeah.
I guess I'll give a shout out to DJ, who was my tag partner often online at the time. We were like one of the top ranking tag teams on there. And I'm always the like do it right kind of guy. If we lose, we lose. Don't complain. DJ was a dude win at any cost. So DJ would freeze people, and I'd be like, "Oh, come on, bro, you can't do that. I'm not helping you win this match." And then he would just, wrestle the other guy and be like, "Dude, there's gonna be a loss on your tag record if we lose this match." And I'm like, "I gotta break up the pen, bro. I don't want to do this. I'm sorry." And I'm like, "Oh, why did he do this to the guy?" And then it would turn into a handicap match, and it just was bad. And the freeze, it would be the punch by the head, the L1, I think it was L1, R1, square, or X. And then they would be like frozen laying there. Like Trevor Murdoch would just be breathing. And you're like, What is this, bro? And the only way you could wake him up is, I think, if you grabbed a water from the crowd and dumped it on him.
You know what's funny is that I just became aware of this glitch reviewing some YouTube videos of people discussing SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. At the time, I was not aware of that, man. I wasn't. And seeing the freeze glitch seemed to be the most prevalent one out there, especially probably the most well known. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. And then going into the crowd and all that stuff, like glitching into the.
There used to be forums of people who would do the glitch, and you would know to get out of the room with them if they did it. There were that many people who would do it, so you would like have your list open. You would look and be like, "Oh, Ray 619 123. Nope. You do the glitch. You're done."
Damn.
That's why I always mention to you, gotta play online, bro. The problems online are different than offline.
I gotta imagine somebody. I mean, in our QA, I'm sure someone was aware of this glitch. Because it was probably Tank, who was our community manager at the time.
I don't think Tank and them came in yet.
Oh, really?
I think they came in just after this. I don't know if there was an official community manager, but there wasn't a face of it that we knew to complain to. I think we were still complaining to you guys, like you, Corey, Dan. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that probably
Nelson just wrote, "You damn PS cheaters." No comment.
Sorry about that. Glitches suck, man. Especially, because I saw those videos and I'm like, you could just easily. There's one thing if a glitch happens and you're like, whoa, like, how'd that happen? But the fact that it's something that's as game breaking as that, and that you can actually do it at will, it was like a baked in command. You know what I mean? Like, that's really bad.
Yeah.
It was almost like it was a feature of the game.
I was getting afraid when you said, "Yeah, let me tell you about this," and I thought you were gonna say it could be a feature. Shout out to Justin Leeper one more time. The Road to WrestleMania, I thought this was one of the better ones. I love the stories for this. We had the Triple H one, the CM Punk, the Taker, Jericho had his own. We had the co-op one with Rey Mysterio and Batista. I really liked that you could play with your friends or whoever, your brother. You're like, "Yo, hop on the other controller, man. We're going to win the tag titles," or whatever. And then, until it got to that Royal Rumble time, someone had to bombs away over the top rope you go. And, this was good. And then the John Cena had one too.
Yeah, John Cena had one. Yeah, Justin did a great job with this first Road to WrestleMania. And it just goes to show, like I said, the guy who was in charge of 24/7, not a fan, didn't really have kind of like a clear direction of what he wanted to make. And I think this right here shows the complete opposite of that, where you've got somebody who knows exactly what they want to make and that gets and understands what it is that they're making. and you end up with with an enjoyable, single player experience. And I thought he did a hell of a job on this.
Yeah, he really did a good job on this. Now, I have a question for you. I asked Justin this question. He really didn't have an answer to it. The Better Than Utopia, do you remember that you could change the match rules a little bit? Like, you could add 5 counts to it and different things like that. Like, they would pen you and the rules changed. How come that's in these modes, but we can't do it in exhibition mode?
You asked Justin that?
Yeah, Justin really didn't have a clear answer onto why, but I'm just like, why isn't this possible to have it? And I mean, it comes up again in 2K15 though with the casket match with Kane and Triple H. Why is the casket match in the showcase?
I can answer that one. Because I designed that showcase that year. The reason the Better Than Utopia. The reason I asked is, I double checked to say if you asked Justin that, is that honestly, so I think I mentioned it before. So everybody's doing their thing. Justin is focused on his road to WrestleMania. I'm doing gameplay, create modes. Dan is doing, and Dan Ryan, he was in charge of the Wii every year. So that was his responsibility. I didn't know about Better Than Utopia until I played it myself when the game was out. So the fact that those rules, because I actually thought that too. That would have been a cool option to have. Because I actually enjoyed that storyline a hell of a lot. But I think it's one of those things where it's like, had Justin asked Ukes and said, "Hey, can we just make this an option within the match rules or whatever?" It could have easily been done. It was probably just a matter of the fact that Justin was new. It was his first year on the game, and kind of like I said, when I first got there, you're not really sure.
He might have wanted to stay in his sandbox too, like you said.
Well, yeah, it's that, and it's also like you're not sure how far your influence extends across the game, and maybe he didn't think about it or anything like that. But I can tell you that something like that, a simple match rule, had the request been done, that could have been added. Now, to kind of skip ahead to why the casket match wasn't a match in 2K15, I actually wanted it to be. I designed a casket match specifically for use in that showcase match, in addition to it just being available in the game, period, or just as a selectable in exhibition, whatever. The reason we settled on just that quick time was, again, due to cost. We didn't have enough cost to create a brand new match type, and the easiest and quickest route to take was to basically just have it be this quick time event within this cutscene. So there's the answer to that one. But it was originally, my original plan was to create an actual match. I think I still have that design. It was a dope design too.
Yeah, I like that. I just really wish that we would get some of those things. It would come up every once in a while with like Road to WrestleMania. You get a cool match or a guest referee, and you're like, why can't I get that? So
yeah, because I'm sorry to cut you off, but just real quick, the thing that Corey really impressed upon me during my time working with him, and I've tried, and it's stuck with me, is that it's, if you're gonna do something, whether it's any kind of new mode, new feature. Think about his legs. Is this thing gonna be relevant in the next game? Are people still gonna care to have it? So on and so forth. If you can design something that has legs, then that's got value versus doing like a one-off type of thing. And that was my mindset when I was working on that showcase, where it was like, look, if we're gonna do this and spend the time and spend the energy, we're probably better off just designing the match. That way, it can serve the purpose for this showcase match. And it's another match type that we can then have in the game and just carry that bad boy into subsequent games, Yeah. But unfortunately, we had to go the quick route. So,
not mad at it. Creation Suite. This game made me very thankful for Creation Suite. This game still at the time had the cause.ws formulas. Bro, when I tell you, you young kids don't know about hard times, bro. When you got to go on cause to look up face 9, arm 17. This is the length. And they would have all the formula for you to do it. And you're like, all right, I think I got this. I think I got it. Nope. Something's wrong. Got to go back.
I
and
was
see what I missed.
was doing that too.
Yeah,
I was
dude.
doing that too, bro.
It's hard, man. And you know what? You got to be appreciative of the car creators, man. These dudes are charging money now. Like, they're getting paid. They're like, oh, you want that New Jack car? You going to pay me to make him. I'll have all the scars on the forehead, everything you need. Like Dre 41, I just saw you did an interview with him. Great car creator. These dudes should get paid. Or I think, honestly, at the point where they're at, they should be getting invited out to, like, give their say on what the creators need for this.
They should.
At this
they
point.
absolutely should.
So,
yeah, Dre 41 is dope. That's my homie. And yeah, good on anybody that can that's got a Patreon and can get paid. Doing requests and getting paid to make these calls.
Yeah, dude.
Get that money.
I can't create them, man. No matter what I've tried, like if it's not in there, I think the best thing I ever could do was like Liger back in the old games when you had all the horns and everything. I'm like, yo, I can make this. I can do this.
Yeah, I was bad too.
Hey, listen, I'll take it. For back then, I'll take what I could get. Creative Finisher was in this game. I thought Creative Finisher was dope. First iteration of it. It was a little bare bones compared to what we would get later on, but I thought that this had legs. This had something where you could do something with it. It also was a detriment to online, but uppercut, pause, you're frozen, power bomb. I'm like, yo, when does this move end, bro?
Yeah. So this was a mode that fell within my responsibility, and like you said, this first crack at it was definitely bare bones. I was playing 2K14 last night, and that was the last game that had Creative Finisher, and it was kind of cool going through there because for me that was probably the best version of it because you had the front, the corner, the diving moves you can create. So that was really fun to kind of revisit that. But revisiting this first crack, it was I'd probably rate it like a B- for a first attempt. And if I could go back, probably the one thing that I would change off top is limiting the number of parts that you can add. I thought 10 might be probably too much. Because again, your experience, using them online was something that I actually experienced myself once the game was released, and then that I heard a lot of complaints about. And you can see why,
Well, what would you remove? Like the taunting ability, or would you just chop it down to like 7?
No, I would just reduce the number of slots that you can use to build a move. Because I think it was 10 was the max, and it just like you said, I was on the receiving end of a lot of just ridiculous finishers myself, and it's like, come on, man, please wrap this shit up. It's like I get it's just a little bit too long. That's probably like the first major change that I would have done to it.
You know what, Brian? I got another thing I wanted to ask you that I just missed, and I realized I missed it because I want to thank you, Prince Rockstar, for writing Better Than Utopia. I want to just clarify this whole Tony thing. The guy that was Tony in the Better Than Utopia storyline, it's always rumored it's been Brian. Brian, how did this all come up? The Tony that was in the game, he was like one of the unlockable characters in the John Cena story mode.
Oh, I know Tony. Was he in 2009 or was he in 2010?
I think he's in 2009, and he pop up in another game, or there's a mention of him. I think he gets mentioned, like it's like a little Easter egg in there, and everybody's like, tongue in cheek, if you know that's Brian, wink face, like.
I thought it was 2010. I was Tony. I voiced Tony in that for that story. I wasn't the first choice, so it wasn't like any like. I was basically I was filling in because I guess the guy that they'd originally hired to do it, I don't know if he got another gig or he just whatever reason he wasn't available. And my friend Chris, who worked at THQ, he was in he did all the video packages and everything. He was a good friend of mine because I would always go up there to help cut trailers and stuff to be sent out to the websites, gameplay footage for IGN, GameSpot, all that kind of stuff. So I work with Chris a lot. And he was working with Justin as well on some VO stuff for Road to WrestleMania. And I was up there doing something else, and he just mentioned it to me. He was like, "Hey, Brian, you got a good voice." I was like, "No, I don't." He was like, "Yeah, you do. Yeah." He's like, "Hey, would you want to do the voice of this character in Road to WrestleMania?" And I was like, "Sure, all right, yeah, sure." And I was like, as long as Justin's cool with it. And so that was my only thing. I was like, if Justin's cool, I'm cool. And then I was like, well, how big of a part? Because I'm kind of busy. I don't want to be having to be up here spending, hours in the recording lab, the booth recording these lines. And they're like, no, it's a very small part, a couple of lines. So yeah, I knocked it out one day. I mean, it didn't take the whole day, but yeah, that was me. And he was a playable character too.
Yeah, see, so
he was a brother.
So you'll go down in history in the franchise. That was cool though. I just wanted to make sure people knew that was you. So,
yeah.
Career mode in this game, bro. This had to be one of the shittiest grinds ever in video game history. This is up there with like those bad NBA 2K grinds. Like, bro, why do I have to do all this to get my guy? Like, this is back when you couldn't just rank the guy up. You had to play the career mode, and people were trying to look for exploits to get them to 90 as quickly as possible. And they're just like, yo, screw it. 90's good enough for me, man. Like, this was bad, man. I don't know whose idea this was, but this was bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this came about. I want to say that Justin, not that it was his idea, but I think he might have been the one that was managing this feature. I could be wrong, and Justin, if you listen to this, please correct me if I'm wrong. The only reason I think it was him is because I know it wasn't me, and I think it might have been Justin just for the simple fact that I think they were kind of housed within the same option, if I remember correctly. But I know that, no one was happy with this at the time, and we probably would have just been better off not adding it, not including it at all, because it wasn't even a career mode. It was like you said, it was a grind mode. It was basically there just to get experience points so you can build up your credit superstars, and it didn't even do that right because you can only build up one at a time. And yeah, this didn't please anybody. So yeah, there was just nothing to it. Like you said, I mean, you get in, you win championships, and you basically just grind through like this ranked list of contenders till you get the title, and you just repeat. I don't even think this thing had cutscenes.
No, this was bad. This reminds me of like Raw today, kind of like it's just matches. Like, okay.
Yeah. There was no stories of any kind. It was just matches.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, bleh. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that. And you guys will correct it in the future ones that we get into in the series of this. GM mode is gone. We talked about that earlier in 08 when we discussed the last of it, so I won't keep that one going. I want to mention online. This is kind of like my last thing that I want to talk to you about. So this game kind of changed to me like the entire landscape of the wrestling video game world, for me at least. So 2008 was a horrible game to me. Like, it really left me salty. Like, normally wrestling's the game I play the most, and I remember for 08 it was not the game I played the most, and I started falling out of love with video games a little bit during this time. Assassin's Creed, I don't know if anybody who knows me personally knows, I never ever played another Assassin's Creed after the first one, because it lost all my save data, and I'll never forgive them for that. And I was like, I will never buy this game again, because I was really into it, and I got stuck in this white room, and I could never get out of it. Like, people saw me walk for miles one day. I think I stayed on there for an hour, and I'm like, dude, there's got to be a way out of here, bro, or a way to fix the glitch. And then I finally Googled it, and it was like, nah, bro, you're stuck, bro. You got to start all over and delete all your stuff. And I was like, nope, never again. And the game's probably still sitting here somewhere in one of these boxes. I'm like, never again. So I was falling out of love with games. And then I finally get 09, and I'm like, yo, this game's kind of fun. And I met a bunch of people online. There was my buddy Chiefs. I don't want to say their real names on here. My man Popo. I met a bunch of people. And we started looking like, how can we make this game more fun? And this was the beginning of the rise of eFeds. There were people out there. I joined one at first, and it was kind of corny, like, oh, yeah, you come in, you do your matches, we book the card each week. I'm like, whatever. I'm working part-time. I'm in college. I'm trying to put out a CD. I don't really care. So I got out of that. But then eventually I found one that was really good called NGW, and it was ran by a bunch of different people, and I was like, yo, this is actually really fun. They had it set up to where they have a lot of, like, the pay-per-view names were already set up, and we ended up using some of those later on. And I was just like, man, this is really cool. And the Fed was going really well until about halfway through the game cycle, and then it started to slow down a little bit. The guys weren't doing as much work, and I'm like, oh, come on, man, these guys got something great here, and they're not using it to their advantage. Insert me. So me and my buddy DJ, DJ, you guys will figure out eventually, is kind of one of those guys. So he was like, look, we could take over this and take all these people and start our own. And I was just like, all right, we could do that. So we started one called XCW, similar. We tried to make it ECW-like. All the matches were Extreme Rules. You play through all of it. And eventually the other guys came back and they were like, yo, you stole all our people. And we got into it. And shout out to Cactus. That was back when Cactus probably hated me for a little bit, but he came onto the team too. And then we all finally got into a PS4 chat, all four of us. Sorry, Sony. That was just me looking at you. And we finally had a chat about it. And we were like, yo, look, here's what we could do, bro. We can unite both of these feds together. We'll have the people that stayed loyal to you. We'll have our people who came over here, and we'll just unite. We'll just say this is all water under a bridge. We'll all be admins. And it happened. That's how we formed the XGW brand. Little did I know that this would go on to take up entirely far too much of my life. From me, like, coming out of a college class, like, yo, we have a dispute on a match, bro. What's up with this? And I'm like, yo, I'm going to school. Ask somebody else. Like, you guys are taking this way too seriously. But I thought this was one of the coolest things that we ever put together. And we ended up coming out with shows. Like, our WrestleMania was called Center Stage, Brian. We had like 10 of them. Like, people go back and they're like, yo, remember at Center Stage 6 when? And to this day, people are like grown men and they still talk about this stuff. Like, yo, that was so much fun, dude, when we had the briefcase and you guys had the rules. We had rules for, like, everything, and it was all set up perfectly, dude. Like, people enjoyed it, though, and I was like, man, if only I could get to you guys. And that was how I started messaging you guys, like, a lot. And I'm like, dude, I have this concept for putting eFeds into the game, and you guys could actually take advantage of this. And I thought it would have been a really dope idea. I don't know if it would have been too powerful, but...
Huh. Well, maybe, see about something in the future, maybe.
Yeah. This was like super nerd alert, though. But the site's still up. Like, people told us don't take the site down once we stopped it. I think it was 2K18. We got into it with some other guys. I'm not even going to give them the satisfaction of mentioning their names. But they basically started their own Fed, took over. They stole all the rules and everything. That's fine. I don't care. Have fun with it, boys. I did for 10 years, so I'm good.
Well, let me ask you. So just explain like how a match or an event would take place. Like, you guys like all get together and you kind of set up a time and a day to get online and to like, you have your matches already.
So here's the thing. We wanted to keep it simple. A lot of other eFeds we were in, so we were in enough to know what the problems were. So some people were like, oh, we're like Raw and SmackDown. You got to do 2 matches a week. And I'm like, bro, that's too much for anybody. I'm in college. We were older too. So I'm like, dude, I'm in college. I already work part-time. I don't have time to do 2 matches a week. Let's make it 1. Okay, we'll make it 1 match per week. And you would get on and we would just say, look, on Mondays at, I forgot, we would change the times eventually, like noon, whoever's making the match cards, we'd have someone be like the Dusty, you're the booker, you set up the matches, and you would just pray to God that someone wouldn't figure out who's the matchmaker, because, they would get accused, man, you've been ducking me for weeks, bro, blah, blah, blah. If you could deal with bitching, you could deal with this. But you would have someone set up the matches, and it would be like, I'm trying to think of who was in 09. Like, it would be Batista getting ready to take on King Booker, we'll just say. You guys are going to face off this week. CM Punk's going to face Randy Orton this week. And then I would get with Cactus or whoever on PlayStation and be like, yo, bro, I'm off this week on these days. When can you do the match? Usually the matches would get done. If you both don't figure out a way to get it done, we sim the match. That's what your record's going to be. We move forward with it. Now, we also used to use the boards to write storylines too. Here's the weird thing. So basically back then, and this, I'm sorry, young people, it got worse as we got older, because I'm like, yo, you guys don't know how to tell a story anymore. Like, we would read people's stuff. I'm like, yo, this shit doesn't make sense, bro. But back then, we would all write the stories, and we would come up with some, like, super crazy shit. Like, you would do a storyline, and let's say it's me and I'm going to keep using Cactus. shout out to Cactus, as a storyline feud, and we would go at it like back and forth, and it would be super wild shit. Dear God, if like these wrestlers ever Googled their name and saw what we were writing about them, like I promise you, bro, it wasn't like personal. It was just what we were thinking of at the time, where people would do crazy shit. It would be like Cactus beats me. He takes control of the storyline that week. Like, he has the say-so. And you just pray that he does. Our rule would be like, don't bury the dude. Like, we would tell people, like, yo, ease up on what you wrote, bro. Like, don't say, like, I punt kicked him off a cliff and he was done. But he would take control of the storyline. And then if I won 2 weeks later, all right, I'm in control of it now. So here's what I want to do. And you would kind of have, like, this back and flow forth until you get to the main big blow-off match. And you're like, oh, whoever wins, this defines the story. And then you move forward and who gets the title shots. It was dope, bro. Like, I'm telling you,
that sounds cool as hell. Actually.
Nerdy as shit, but cool. Like, it was fun stuff, man.
It's like wrestling with a little bit of D&D, except the content's all wrestling related.
Right. And speaking of D, guys, don't forget we're sponsored by Manscaped now. So use the right tools for your family jewels.
Perfect.
Always, man. But, Brian, I think this is a nice spot for us to end on, man.
Yeah. Before we go, can a buddy of mine, he wanted me to answer a couple of questions. He sent me a lot, so I just got 2 that I'll answer real quick for him. And then,
pull them up.
Roman, I'll send you the rest in a DM.
Mm-hmm.
So first one. So he basically just wants to know, because of the less than favorable reception of 2K15, and I'm sure he's probably going to say, oh no, in 2K18, were there any discussions about us being, whether it's THQ or 2K, delaying or skipping a yearly release for the WWE game? This has been answered by a couple of people who have worked for the project. I think Justin's answered it himself. The answer is no. No, it was never discussed because it's in the contracts that the game's got to come out. And it's pretty much just that cut and dried and boilerplate. Us designers would have loved that because it would have given us, obviously more time to, put together a dope feature set, more time with designs. Everybody would have enjoyed having the extra time to get the game done, but no, that's never a reality. You've got contracts, you got to honor them. And then the other question is, which wrestler was I glad to finally see included in a WWE game? And as soon as I saw that was an easy one. That is Ricochet. And I'm glad that he actually made it in the last game that I was a part of. So another reason that 2K19 has a special place in my heart. And that's about it.
We'll be back next time. So I think my plan is going forward, Brian, I think we're just going to do 2 games. We'll talk about 2 of them, and then we'll keep it moving. So I think the next one will be SVR 10 and 11.
Okay,
and then we'll move into the WWE 12, 13, and then we can go through I don't know if you want to do every 2K game or if you want to break it down via like 2K as a whole. We'll talk about that offline though.
Yeah, we can talk about that one offline.
But I appreciate everybody who was in here. If you guys watched this video after the fact, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you guys enjoyed the content, please hit the subscribe button. Please. You get a pretty dope image of Otis, doing his nice taunts that he likes to do. But I'll put this up in audio form too if you guys want to listen to it. I don't know if I'll split these up because we went 2 hours and 15 minutes for this. This was a long one, but it's well worth it. It's a podcast, so they're supposed to be long. That's what it is, right, guys? Brian,
give the people what they want.
Exactly, man. You guys want the answers to it. That's what we get. But we'll be out after this, and we'll talk to you guys as soon as we can when we come out with the... Original Biggie said thank you, Brian, and he said he cannot wait until the SVR 2011 one. Thank you, Biggie. I know that's your favorite game. I'll take care of it, Biggie. If you got some questions, send them in, brother.
Thank you, Biggie. Thank you, everybody who took the time out to listen to us, rant about these WWE games. It's always fun when I get a chance to chop it up with you, Conrad.
No doubt, bro. No doubt. But thank you guys so much for joining us. This is the latest episode of Everything Pro Wrestling. We will be back tomorrow with an AEW Dynamite live stream after the show goes off the air with our reactions and thoughts on the show. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Peace.
Everyday pro wrestling, they can never be you. Listen to the podcast for the people, the best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin, the opinions, the lesson, yes. By the fans, for the fans, not many in this can understand, this the podcast to show you who I am, Conrad Cushman, the legend in the plans, please listen every day to the showcase, the opinions and knowledge that anyone can take, showing you how it is done, proving I am number one, what a legend becomes. This is now my time to show you that I am here, this podcast just to make it loud and clear, by the fans, for the fans, not many who's here can understand everything pro wrestling, they can never be you. Listen to the podcast here for the people, the best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin, the opinion and the lesson, yes. Everyday pro wrestling, they can never be you. Listen to the podcast for the people, the best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin, the opinions, the lesson, yes.